Right, welcome everyone to the Sunday Speedrunner Spotlight today. Joined with me, I have the Bismuth. How's it going?
Hello. Pretty good. I have a cold, but it's manageable. How about you?
I don't have one, so I guess I got that going for me.
Yeah, when you don't have a cold, like when you're not sick, it's really easy to forget how great life is when you're not
Hmm.
sick. And you only remember once you get sick and you're like, "Oh, I should appreciate it more when my nose isn't clogged and I have energy."
Yeah, well, I don't. My nose is clogged every day, and I never have energy, so I guess I'm essentially forever sick. So I wouldn't know, I guess. Anyway, on a lighter note, maybe we should talk about speedrunning and not
Right.
wanting to die. So, I guess the first question I always ask is how you got into it.
Right. So how I got into it is sort of like many different ways. Um, when I grew up, I grew up on an NES and then got an N64 for Christmas in '99 with DK64, and so that became one of the games we played throughout the years afterwards. We didn't have many N64 games, so we played DK64 quite a bit. And my dad used to work from home sometimes, and he would just take a break and play DK64 to sort of, decompress, just do something else for an hour. And basically, he beat the game 101%, like, I don't know, 10 times, something like that
Oh
over the
my.
years. And he got really used to playing it, and he got used to where things were, and he was basically just like playing through it really quickly without really trying to go fast. And he got a time of 13 hours, 42 minutes. I still remember um, for 101 in game time throughout, like, of course, multiple sessions over, like, I don't know, a couple months. And I was like 9 or 10 years old by that point, and I was trying to beat that time, and I couldn't because I was still like young and bad and stupid.
Oh, okay.
But eventually, I got to beat it, and I got like 12 hours and 11 hours. And later on in college, that was sort of like my first real attempt at a speed run. Was trying to beat the run that was on SDA when I was 16. Um, I actually didn't complete that because I was in a college dorm and things were complicated. Essentially, I was playing like on like a shared TV in the living room,
Mm.
and there were like some memes happened and had me stop my run in the middle of it and like in the middle of a level, and I was like, well, I'm gonna lose 2 minutes just going back in the level from like DK Isles, so that sucks, and I ended up just never finishing it. But I was ahead of the SDA run at the time, and I was like, well, I really think I could do it. I could take the world record. And then I found out about the forums of Speed Demos Archive, and I realized that CFox had done a like 7:30 when the run on SDA was 9 hours. So I was like, well, I could do like 8:30, but I could not do 7:30. There's no way I could do that time. So I sort of gave up for a little bit and then came back uh, 3 years later, around 2012, 2013, when I discovered Speedruns Live. And I started with some Minecraft and Turok 2 races. Well, Turok 2, I wasn't really racing because no one was playing it, but Minecraft races and Super Mario 64 and a little bit of Ocarina of Time Bingo. And then fell back with DK64, and that's when I started doing 101 and 80% runs. And that was 2013 or so, and it's been 10 years of playing that monkey game
Hmm.
on and off. It's mostly how that started. I was also involved with Super Mario 64 on SM64.com, which at the time wasn't SM64.com, but it's a website made by Curtis Bright that had like documentation of where their coins are, but also challenges. Like the A button challenge was one, and star times, like individual star times, and also like all the races like Princess Secret Slide and Koopa the Quick. Um, and I actually tied the world record for Princess Secret Slide when it was like held by 3 or 4 people. It was like Alex Benev, Miles Buckrim, Curtis Bright, um, one or two other people, and then my name. But then Miles Buckram got a 12.3, or was it Alex Penev? One of those two got a 12.3, and then beat my 12.4 tied record. Nowadays, I think people have done 12.2. I know it's possible.
I've
But
only
yeah,
seen like 12.4 at max and like speed runs, so.
right. Well, the thing is, you save about zero point 0.2 seconds by taking a different approach. So instead of going like head on into the race, you go sideways and you bounce off the sidewall to start with, instead of like going in the
Mm,
first curve. And so that saves about zero point 0.2 seconds. So if you got like a 12.7 in regular speedruns, that means that translates to about a 12.5 with that strat. It just takes longer real time to set up.
mm-hmm. And they went off the in-game.
Yeah.
So how'd they time? I assume they did like everything else, right? Or did they just do stars that had timers?
No, it was a time. It was a little bit like GoldenEye style for individual stars, like tied to the second, but also rarely tied,
Hmm,
because there were many people on that leaderboard. Um, I did like one round of submissions. All my times were terrible, so I wasn't really speedrunning much at that time, I guess. Um, but yeah, it had a bunch of different challenges and stuff on that site, and I remember just watching in awe like all the names I mentioned, like Alex Penev, Miles Buckram, Curtis Bright, Tiago Trujillo, and I don't remember the others, but there were like two or three more names that were just like everywhere that had like all the tied records, and there were also like top Mario Kart 64 players for the most part and stuff like that.
mhm.
They were like
Yeah,
in
when you say
every.
Miles, that's what I think of Shadow of Miles, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. I don't
And
know
Alex
much about
Penev
early
is
history,
also.
but yeah.
Yeah, Alex Penev is also one of the early like top players of Mario Kart, and he's still a moderator in the MK64 boards.
Yeah, they those leaderboards look quite popular actually. That's like one of the more popular Mario Karts, I feel, even today.
Yeah, yeah, I think Mario Kart 64, Wii, and probably 8 are the three most
Mm-hmm.
popular.
Yeah, definitely. Just funny that Mario Kart 64 is one, being like what the second one. So pretty old.
Yeah,
But I
it's
guess it is like on the Wii. I guess now it's on 60 or the Switch too, but who's gonna pay for the
right.
garbage
But
Nintendo
yeah,
service?
Mario Kart 64 was definitely one of the most iconic games on the console, like one of the most popular when it came out, and I think it just held up. Like it still feels pretty good to play, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not in multiplayer because it's really laggy, but in single player, it still holds up pretty well.
Oh yeah, it's a great speed run to watch at least.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm sure my opinion would change if I ever tried it myself, with how
Yeah,
RNG
it's
heavy it is.
a
But
lot of RNG. Yeah.
mm-hmm. So I don't know, but yeah, definitely fun. So 2013 said all that. Um, did you just stick with DK64 then after all of that,
Um,
or?
well, yeah, in 2012, I was mostly playing Turok 2 in Minecraft. And then 2013, SM64 and DK64, and still Minecraft and Turok 2 a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found AGDQ 2013. I watched it and I was like, well, I want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went the next year in 2014 and I did a run of Minecraft there, which was kind of a big deal for the Minecraft speedrunning community because it sort of didn't really exist. It was like 10 people or so talking about like theory crafting the run and finding seeds and like routing and stuff. And then I was like, well, I'm going to try runs because like no one is doing runs here. Everyone's just talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was basically the only runner for like almost 2 years. And then from that point, it just exploded into like dozens of people and then hundreds and then thousands of people
Now it's one of the
within
most popular
a few
speedruns on the
years.
site.
Yeah, nowadays it's like Minecraft speedrunning is like it's almost its own community that's larger than like the rest of speedrunning.
Hmm, yeah. So it's all because of you.
Yep, it's all me and
Mm-hmm.
not at all the signal boosting by Games Done Quick.
No.
It was all me.
Mm-hmm. But that run you did at that GDQ is actually like a very important run, I feel. Like a very like important one almost to GDQ, like one of the highlights.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because looking back, I know exactly like it wasn't a very optimized run, and the fact that it was a world record is basically just because it was a like by default I was the only runner. I beat my PB. It's the world record. Like I know that,
Mm-hmm.
but it somehow made it like iconic even more than just like dying into the portal. The fact that it was a record was, but like yeah, the like I'm perfectly aware looking back, and I knew even then actually that like sure it was a world record, but it definitely wasn't as prestigious as the more popular games, you know. But like a lot of people didn't really care about that and were just like really excited for it to be a world record, just as much
Mm-hmm.
as if it had been like Ocarina of Time or Zelda or Super Mario 64 or like Metroid or something.
Speedrunners love world records. And
Yeah.
seeing them live is not common. Like you're the only person I think that can ever say they got the Minecraft world record on GDQ.
Yeah, probably because after when GDQ had Minecraft again, the records were probably a lot more optimized and a lot more RNG based.
Mm-hmm. But hey, you got in there when it needed to be. Wow, that was 9 years ago.
Yeah, 9 years.
Hmm. It's back when their setup was like the two giant cameras, one game feed and one the like crowd camera.
Mm-hmm.
Before they have like
Yeah, they were like
proper
side by side, the
layouts. Yeah,
same size.
I always see like 2014 talked about. I feel like that was like an important GDQ in GDQ history for some reason.
Well, it was definitely the largest by far. Like the growth by year, I'm pretty sure the relative growth by year is the highest in 2014
Mm,
because 2011 and 12 had like a few couple dozen attendees, like maybe 50 people at most. And then 2013 had like maybe 100 or so, but then 2014 had like 500 or 600 attendees.
hmm,
And
I
then
see.
2015 had like about 1,000 and then 2,000. And now it caps out at around like 2.5, 3,000 or so, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but basically, 2014 was like where it went from being in the 4-H center with like this small room with like, 30 chairs, felt more like almost the size of a classroom than like
Hmm.
a proper like event sort of. And
Yeah.
then 2014 was held in a hotel with like actual like conference space and like large rooms with like hundreds of chairs and big projection screens and like it felt like a lot more like a convention, like a lot more like an actual event than just like a few nerds gathering around.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I don't remember the viewership of 2013, but I think it was roughly around like between 20 and 50,000, I want to say. It was like definitely in the tens of thousands, but like not that much, like about, I'd say around 30,000 or so. I could be wrong though. In 2014, it was actually like the first time GDQ broke over 100,000 viewers. That was during Minecraft, actually. It was the peak viewers.
Hmm.
And also, like, afterwards was a Zelda, I think it was Wind Waker, 100% or something. And then there was like that night had also a lot of like really big runs. It was the final day of the event, and it had like over 100,000 viewers for the entire last day.
Hmm.
And it also when it broke the $1 million, and so like a lot of milestones were hit, and that was like when it really transitioned from like a really small event into the big like the powerhouse it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and 2014 was sort of feels like a pivotal year because I wasn't there before, so I can't really tell for sure. But it seemed like it really, was a tiny event where you could know everyone like by the end of the week because there were like 50 people, so you just got to talk to everyone. Um, or more like 100, but yeah. Um, In 2014, there were like 500 people, which is there are definitely people you would see there that you would never talk to throughout the week. But generally, like towards the end of the week, you would have met, you know, at least 50 to 100 new people from like speed games you follow or speed games you like, or like people from your own community you didn't even know. And like people, used to branch out a lot more, I feel like, in those days.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would just like I talked to people from GoldenEye, from Mario Kart, from Super Mario 64, from Zelda, from Donkey Kong, from the Banjo games, even I had never played them. So I just made friends with a lot of people from those communities, and then that just like kept going throughout the years. But um, in later GDQs, when the events got so large, it sort of lost this feel of like you can just walk up to anyone and strike up a conversation about their game, and you end up being friends at the end of the week, and you just keep like following each other for years on the internet. It sort of lost that feeling where like literally anyone could just walk up to literally anyone, and then they'd be friends by the end of it. It just felt a lot more impersonal when you got like 3,000 people than when you had like a few hundred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely people kind of like form cliques nowadays and they stay in a certain group and
Hmm.
don't branch out as much. I
Yeah,
could
I'm definitely guilty of that where I don't feel like I've met a lot of new people in like the last four GDQs I went to.
I've been trying to get better about it, but I remember when I first went to 2018, I didn't talk to anyone. I just stayed with the roommates. Well, I was super
Hmm.
new then, so I like literally didn't know anyone, but still. Like I either played by myself or stayed with the few people I did know. I didn't talk to anyone else.
Hmm. Yeah, I knew maybe like 5 to 10 people going into HDQ 2014, and then I made friends with like 30 more.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely gotten better later. What actually was great was pace, because that was only like 100 people. So that did I did feel that way
Yeah, I did hear a
coming
lot
out of
of good
that.
things about Pace.
hmm Yeah, it was cool. Um, I mean, it was the first time I was able to do a run on stage, so happy about that. And obviously, this year they'll have the Mario One tournament.
Right.
Very hype.
I'm assuming you're going to be going to that as well.
Oh, of course,
Yeah,
I couldn't miss
that's great.
that. They said three names in their announcement. And one of them was mine. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I would like to go as well. It's fairly close to my home, so I can drive there,
mm,
but I've got some logistics to figure out before I commit to that. Because like I have just one car and my girlfriend uses it for work. So if I take it for a week, then what? Well, how does she go to work? Public transit is like an hour and a half when driving is 15 minutes. So that's the joy of Montreal transit.
mm-hmm.
Um, anyway, that's just logistics I need to figure out before I make that call of going or not.
Yeah, I know there's a group of Canadians I think that are driving down. I don't know if they're based in Montreal or not. I assume not, but I don't know.
Yeah, probably somewhere in Ontario is more likely.
hmm But yeah, definitely cool. Like I don't know what commentators they'd have set up, so that'd be nice. Someone who's knowledgeable,
Hmm.
because everyone
Yeah, I
that's
talk with
knowledgeable would be participating, I assume. So
I talk with Flibbity about commentating, which is yeah, probably if I'm going down there, it's probably what I'm gonna do.
perfect. All right. Yeah, I'm super excited for that. I'm still upset I missed the first one in Denver. Uh, I mean, I totally would have gone. Flibbity Dibbity like reached out to me like after Cosmic, and I think he reached out to him first. So I was one of the like first people to know about it. But then they scheduled it while I was at Pace, and the day before I had a run, so I couldn't like leave to go to it.
Hmm.
So unfortunate timing, but I guess it made up for it that now it'll be there, so I can kill two birds with one stone this time, which is nice.
Yeah, the first tournament is like, in my opinion, the format is one of the best speedrunning live setting format there can be. and the
Mm-hmm.
tech is incredible. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it at pace because I think like more eyes need to see that because I think people just don't know about it, and if they did, they'd be hooked.
No, it's mind blowing. It's incredibly cool. Like, uh, I've never seen anything quite like it, and I just hope it takes off. Like, I don't know how you could do it for other games. I feel like it'd have to be like side-scrolling NES era-ish games. Like, I don't know how you can do technology like that for like Mario 64 or something.
Yeah, Mario 64 would definitely be very different. I think people would have to be playing on emulators for it to work.
Mm-hmm. And then even would it be interesting to look at with how varied that is? I don't know.
Well, I think it might work if like just assume people were playing on emulators and then you could just like directly draw the data from the RAM.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Using like, software like Stroop, you can have like a custom camera that just follows Mario. I'm sure like people could code because I know there's like the task compilations that use like a custom camera that
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like just zooms out and pans and you see like all the Mario's branching out and um like doing the task at the same time. So I think that could work. It would just have to be like automatically like in real time just to follow the leader and then like all the ones before or like all the ones behind the leader. But I think it could be done. It's just would it be it would have to be probably something short like 16 star because in longer categories people don't stay like within the same level close to each other like at all usually.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm not sure if it would work for SM64 just based on like the length of the game and the categories and like the size of levels compared to it. But yeah, I think any side scroller like Super Mario World also has that potential of working. Um, and other NES and SNES games. I don't think maybe like the first Zelda might be doable as well, but I'm not sure how interesting that would be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what works best would be like some sort of side-scrolling platformer.
Hmm.
But yeah, like all the 2D Marios, it would work very well. Yeah. I just had the thought Mario 64 would be funny if they had a camera like that in the BLJs, like the last one. Mario would just keep teleporting if you
Yeah,
like weren't hitting it. That'd be funny.
yeah, yeah, yeah. If the camera's not moving, you just see Mario like
Mm-hmm.
warping back.
Yeah. Yeah, 16 star. That would be interesting because like some they have so many different routes for the other categories, and I'm
Hmm.
sure they're different in like race formats and stuff. But 16 seems pretty like standard. I guess like LBLJ or not though, that would be varied, but depends on the group of people you have. I wonder. But yeah, I've seen those tasks like video things where they take all of the comp submissions and put them together, and those look fun. But I mean, all the Marios are pretty close together since it's tasks. So I don't know how it'd work RTA. Like, you know, once you miss Lakitu skip, it's very desync.
Yeah, yeah. I think like the even in the SMB1 tournament when people are like, whenever people lose a life, you just don't see them anymore. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like if someone makes like a sizable mistake and loses like 4 or 5 seconds, they're like gone from the main screen.
Mm-hmm.
They're just on the mini map. So that would be pretty much instant in SM64. I feel like people would be like at least 5 to 10 seconds apart, like pretty quickly, and then you just lose track of like you can't really view both of them at the same time. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I haven't seen the warpless footage from the Mario 1 tournament yet since it's not released, so I'm
mhm.
curious how like super desync that was.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. I saw bits of the any% tournament before that came out, but not the Warpless. So I have no
Mm-hmm.
idea how it looks.
Yeah, so super curious how they did that since there's so much greater room for larger gaps in between runners.
Hmm.
and so many more levels. And he has that whole like 2-bit map to show where everyone is. So I guess he has it for every level, not just the any percent ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it in person at Pace. So was that 2 months?
Uh, right.
Ah,
It's in early July, so it's a little more than 2 months.
mm-hmm. I have to go to GDQ first. I have to go to too many things. Ugh. So and it's a good year for stop events. So that's good. So where were we? GDQ 2014. So anything interesting happening the next year or that year even?
Uh, right. Well, I feel like GDQ is sort of blur
Hmm.
between like 2015 and 2019. I'm never sure like what happened when.
Mm. Did you go to all of them?
Yes, I went through 2014 through 2020. I went to all of them.
Wow.
Never went to SGDQ because that was
Hmm.
a flight thing instead of a drive thing. HGDQ 2020 was in Florida, so I flew there, but I originally didn't think I would be going at all until I sort of like my girlfriend sort of convinced me to go because she also wanted to go to Universal and Disneyland. So we sort of combined the trip into half GDQ, half Disney and Universal. Um, but yeah, basically 2014. 2014, I remember, was the year when Ryan Lockwood was the big meme because
Streets
he had
112.
Streets 112 had come out 2 weeks before, and so that was the video everyone had watched or was being shown at
Mm-hmm.
GDQ, and he was sort of like the living legend at the event. Um, but then, like, I remember in 2015 or 16, there was the 100 meters, like the track and field game on N64, 100 meters, like, was sort of like the, is it race for the record?
Hmm?
I feel like it's not race for the record, but it's something for the record.
The speed
Uh,
gaming thing?
yeah,
That's Chase for the record.
chase for the record. So it's sort of like a chase for the record event where like the game had been set up on like 2 or 3 consoles in the casual room, and people were just playing like 4 players, 4 controllers on like each game. So like there were like 8 people going at once
Hmm.
and just like racing as fast as they could to beat the record on 100 meters. It was just a straight up mashing game, and Oxwas ended up beating the record, and like the room just exploded when that happened because it had been going on for like 72 hours or something.
Oh my god.
So that was a big one. I think it was in 2015.
Hmm.
That was one moment I clearly remember. And then in 2016, there was a Mario Maker race that happened. That was a big one for me.
Oh, you were
I
in it?
sort of like lucked my way into being in the teams.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't really ever a 2D Mario runner. Like Mario World, I never like I only played once when I was like 12.
Mm-hmm.
SMB1, like I know a lot about it. I watched a lot of runs of it, but I barely did any runs myself. I have a 501, which is 459, 458, 459 pace with like 2 seconds lost in 4-2, and then everything else went fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and I basically I was just always good at Mario. Like that's just my credential. I'm good at Mario. And I played a lot of Mario Maker when it came out, and I contacted Carl Sagan and I was like, "Hey, I heard you want to do a relay race, and I'm really good at Mario. I played a lot of Mario Maker. I think I could make it." And he was like, "Sure, we actually have a spot, so you can be on the teams." And I ended up being on the teams with like legends of Mario like Dram, um, Mexican Runner, Trihex. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
who else was there? We had someone else on our team. I need to remember. It was Link Dead, who was like a big SMW runner and like ROM hack player.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like the only nobody who's running DK64 for some reason, and I ended up really holding my own. And like I didn't carry the team, but I certainly had moments where like I was getting the checkpoints and beating the levels. So like everyone on the team, I feel carried their own weight. Dram was probably the strongest player, but we ended up crushing the other team.
Mm,
And so that was a big moment because like it was definitely the most fun I had playing games like in a live setting like that. Because the energy of like playing these levels you've never seen before and you have to be clutch because they're like designed to be like a hard first playthrough that's gonna cause you to die a few times.
mm-hmm,
Um, so the energy of like the crowd of like 300 people, the room was pretty packed, cheering for the teams and cheering for like when you did something cool or got a checkpoint or stuff, and the commentators like the setting was so energetic, and I was playing out of my mind. I think I was playing really well for the most part, and yeah, it just felt crazy. Like the amount of fun that was is pretty insane. So that's definitely one of my most treasured moments of GDQ, more so than Minecraft, I would say.
mm-hmm. I feel like there's always a staple, either at a GDQ, there's always either like an SMW ROM hack blind race or a Mario Maker blind relay race or something.
The
I've
Mario
always
Maker
checked
relay
it out.
race is really fun.
Yeah, I've always seen them when I've gone. I think there's one just every year I've gone. Yeah, they have like 8 people and 2 teams of 4, and they just go at it. And they're like, yeah, we're all better than anyone ever could be at blind Mario Maker garbage. So it's always fun though. I actually like the Mario World stuff more because there's more like customization and things you couldn't do in Mario Maker.
hmm
I remember the one I saw, I forget which one, but like they had it where the racers played as themselves instead of Mario. Like they had like a little icon that showed who it was, and then like the character sprite was them.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one, but that sounds like SMW ROM hack magic.
It must have been an SGDQ. It must have been SGDQ 2018 then. That was the first one I went to. That's where the last Mario Warpless race live happened at one of them.
hmm Yeah, I think I watched that one.
Mm-hmm. Cosmic did the one-handed any percent run.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big crowd for that one. And then I was in like the back couch. We People would just bring up chairs and sat closer.
hmm
Made sure to do that. Now I have to carry the torch 5 years later and do a run 4 times as long the same way. Can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The one hand run. Oh, my hand's gonna cramp up so hard.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to do that.
I
In one
I
handed.
I'm gonna be fully honest. I submitted that as a joke because I didn't have anything to submit, and I was like, you know what'd be funny? One hand warpless. But I did say like donation incentive, and apparently that was like, ooh, good idea. And now it's like, uh-oh.
You gotta practice it.
Well, you can't even practice it much because your hand gets destroyed within 30 minutes. Like maybe I could do 2 runs and then be like, well, that's enough for today.
Yeah, 2 runs a day every day for 2 months.
I haven't even started practicing yet. I'll save it for next month. I'll do it some, but I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's a big deal for me because I'm doing the run alone,
hmm
and it's Mario 1, and it's on the last day of the event, and it's like, holy shit, what the but uh oh god, my hand is just not gonna enjoy that. And then I mean, I'm someone that has a lot of anxiety things, so ugh, being on the stage like for real, I don't know.
I'd say it's one of those things where it's very nerve-wracking before and the first few minutes, and then you just sort of settle into it
Mm-hmm.
after the first little bit. Um, I'd say in Minecraft, I was pretty stressed for the entire thing. But when I did like the Turok 2 run, that was like 2019, 2018, I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Turok 2 was like an hour, and after like 5 minutes, I was feeling pretty comfortable. Um, and same goes for like public speaking. I did a conference in the last summer in Munich, and the first like 3 minutes I was pretty nervous, but then I settled right into it, and it just cruised the rest of the way. So I think if the run is like more than 10 minutes, you're probably gonna find time to just settle into it and be fine after like the first few levels.
See, I want to believe you, but last SGDQ, Seth Bling had me be one of the people that did his ace run because he needed 4 controllers. The entire time, I didn't have to say anything except go when I was holding down the right inputs, and I had to hold down buttons. And the entire time, I'm like, uh, luckily, I'm like medicated for anxiety now, so hopefully it's better. But ugh, just that experience like has me worried now. Like, how am I gonna be like mic'd up and having to talk and do a run with hundreds of thousands of people watching me and just me? I'm not in a race. It's literally me.
Hmm.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's an experience for sure.
Yeah, we'll see how it is. I mean, luckily, uh, Pace kind of prepared me for doing a solo run on a stage, like in person live event. But I knew that one was a lot smaller. They maybe had like 2,000 people watching live, and uh, people there. There was probably like 20 people at most in the room. So I felt pretty comfortable. Like I settled into that real quick. But I mean, this is such a much larger scale, and I'm just so mentally aware of it. I don't know.
Yeah, when I'm on GDQ, I generally don't feel the audience like the audience on stream. I don't really feel that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I mostly just feel the pressure of the room. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like a couple hundred people, which is still a lot of pressure, but it's not like I don't feel like I have 100,000 people watching me, even though technically it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not something that I personally feel when I'm on stage at HDQ.
Mm-hmm. Well, like again, my issue is I know it. I know it's the last day of the event. I know what the last day of the event is like. It's like
Hmm.
at a good time slot. It's during like the Mario block, and that's always a big thing. I
It's
mean,
at a
I
good time slot for now. Maybe they're going to be six hours late, and you're going to be running at 3 a.m.
well currently it's at 11 a.m. So if
Oh,
it's
okay.
late, it'd just be an even better time
Hmm.
technically. But yeah, I actually last night I was looking at pictures from GDQs I was at just to see like if I was in some or if there's some things I remembered, and I was like, oh yeah, that happened. There's some good stuff, but I saw the picture of Cosmic doing the one hand run, and I saw the crowd, and like it was filled completely. The room was, and I was like, oh god, that's me in a month. I don't know. I'm sure I'll get over it because I mean I care more about. See, I'd be nervous about wanting to perform well. Like I don't know if that's like the eyes on me more than it's like, well, I'm aware of the eyes, but I want them to enjoy what I did.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, I
like
think
one
it's
hand, it'd be so easy to just eat shit completely.
yeah, I was gonna say I think the if you do like two no reset runs every day for a month, you'll have a really good idea of what can go wrong and how much it can go wrong, so you won't be surprised at the on stage.
That's a good idea. I'll do that in May. I'll like at least do one run a day, I think. Maybe two. But again, like my hand will just die, so I don't want that to happen either. I mean, I'm glad it's on the last day of the event because that's like the big day, but that also means I have to go the entire week knowing that it's coming up. Like I can't just do
Yeah.
it and then get it out of the way and then enjoy myself. I'll have to be nervous the whole week.
I remember that feeling the first time I went to a GDQ for sure. It was my first GDQ and I had a Minecraft run and I wasn't particularly um, confident about it because there was still a lot of randomness involved, and I hadn't practiced as much as I wanted to, and so I ended up playing a lot better than I expected.
I mean, you
I
got
got
world
like
records, so yeah.
right, so I got really bad luck at one point and lost like a minute and a half or so.
Mm,
But then the rest of it was fairly good. So overall, I had like I'd say average-ish luck. And
mhm.
then at the end, I just clutched out like shots on those crystals to get the dragon to like stop regenerating. And I clutched out like four or five of them in a row, and that really like saved the run and pushed it into world record territory. But what I meant to say is like that whole week at AGDQ, I had this sort of like dread of impending doom of
Hmm.
like my run is coming on Saturday and I'm not feeling ready and
So
it's
you
gonna
had the
be
last day of the event too. You
yeah
know
it was
exactly how it is. Okay.
the last day of the event at 11.
What?
Might not have been 11, but it was around like noon or so. It was
Okay.
like late morning or early afternoon, just before the 5 hour Wind Waker 100% run.
Mm-hmm.
And like there was like the room was filled for Wind Waker. It wasn't filled for Minecraft really. I was just like
Mm-hmm.
the appetizer before Narciso would do the Wind Waker run.
Mm-hmm.
And then the stream, I think Notch tweeted about it or something happened that like signal boosted GDQ just before my run. And so the viewers peaked actually during Minecraft, but yeah. The basically all eyes were on me that day for sure. Like
Mm-hmm.
the entire event was like came to a stop just to watch me do that run. So it was a lot of pressure.
You know, honestly, talking to someone that literally went through the same thing, I'm gonna, well, not literally the same, but like very surprisingly similar to what I'm doing. That helps because
What a
I
very
don't think
bad.
mine will be. I mean, I guess it might be bigger just because of how much GDQ has grown, but at the time, in
Uh,
comparison, what you did would have been like a much bigger deal with the amount of attention lined up for it.
so here it says 5 p.m. Okay, so maybe it was later than I thought.
Mm.
I think it was scheduled to be like around noon, but it was like a few hours late, so it was around 5 p.m.
Okay, so
On
that could
Saturday.
happen to me. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
I
problem
think
with having
nowadays
runs
they're a
on
little better.
the last day is any
Hmm.
time they lose just gets built up more and more and more.
Yeah, I just think nowadays they're a little better with keeping on schedule, but
Hmm.
back then they were like consistently losing an hour per day.
Hmm. Yeah, they'll like cut runs if they need to now or stuff like that.
Yeah, I think their setup time is a little more consistent than it used to be as well.
Hmm. Yeah, but I mean, one GDQ I was at, it might have been the last SGDQ. I'm pretty sure they cut a run and then tried to bring it back after they got back on schedule, and it was like a whole hoopla
Hmm.
of confusion. So I don't know, but yeah, it definitely can fall behind, but it's definitely a little more, the process is a little more refined where that doesn't happen as frequently. They have so many tech people back there
Yeah. Yeah, it's
nowadays.
just insane the amount of cables. Have you
Oh
have you
my
seen the
god.
amount of
Of
cables?
course,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
I mean, when when I did the thing with Seth Bling, so that was my first time like being able to go up onto stage because I've never been on the couch or anything.
Hmm.
So like you enter through the back door behind the projectors and you wait in that little couch room area. You can kind of like watch the stream and prepare. They'll put makeup on you. I didn't get makeup because we had masks that one, but I know they will put makeup on you
Oh,
back in the
really?
day.
I never saw a makeup station before
Hmm.
GDQ.
I'm pretty sure I remember like Cosmic and Supersonic and all of them talking about it in 2018. Like that's why they have you arrive early, make you look good for the cameras and all that.
Hmm, I
Um,
never went through that.
well, yeah, not in 2014.
No, I mean, I think my latest GDQ run was a GDQ 2018, I want to say.
Well, I am talking about SGQ 2018, so technically that's later. I don't know if
Yeah.
they like changed to that then, but I'm pretty sure they talked about makeup before. I don't think I'm crazy. but I could be.
Yeah, I think my latest run was Turok 2, so that was AGDQ 2018. I
Hmm.
didn't run anything in 19 or 20.
Hmm. Well, either they started doing makeup the next year, or I don't know what I'm talking about, which both are equally plausible. So, but yeah, I just remember what was my. Oh yeah, I remember waiting in that back room there, and it's behind everything, so you see all the setup stuff, and I was just like, oh my god,
Hmm.
it. Uh, I don't know how they do it, but they do it somehow with uh, miles upon miles of cables that could probably wrap around the solar system.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone always just sees the crowd and the couch, but behind it is a wonderland of bullshit that uh it's a sight to behold, let's just say. Go to GDQ if you really want to see the cables. That's the highlight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so what are we at? 2015? Anything exciting happen?
Well, yeah, 2015 was the year of the 100 meters race where
Okay,
Ox
that
was
that was that
had the
one.
record. 2016, the one I remember the most was the Mario Maker race.
Okay, that
And
was
then
2016.
2017, wait, was it 2016 or 17? There was a task block where they had like this task competition on a ROM hack, not a ROM hack, just a custom game for the NES
Mm,
that had been made during like a not a hackathon, but something like
like
that.
a game jam.
Yeah, a game jam where you have to make an NES game in like 48 hours or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a task of it, and right, so there was a task competition where you had to make a task in like 24 or 48 hours, and then we would race that task. And we had like 3 weeks to prepare. It was me and Amor Abder, and that was a really tough one because the game was really difficult, and they tweaked the game a little bit, and it made it the run harder like 4 days before the event. So that was a little
Hmm.
dicey. I ended up getting a game over, which was run over. Like if you die, it's run over for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was. I'm really sad that I ended up like dying in that run because I really gave it my all and I really practiced that game and it was a really fun run. But yeah, it just didn't pan out at the event. But Emo Arbiter did finish the run and race the task. I
Mm.
don't remember what happened. I think the task won, but yeah, that was a really cool thing. I don't remember how I got involved in that, but it was great. I think it's just because I knew Duango AC from something else. I don't remember
Hmm.
really how that happened, but yeah, that happened.
Was this like a task
Um,
block, or was that like the tournament
yeah, I
room?
was during a task block.
Oh, okay. It was like an actual thing. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And another thing I remember from either between 16 and 18, like I said, the GDQ sort of blur in those years.
Mm-hmm.
In the casual room, something that happened that was incredible to me. It was Runner Guy, the Ocarina of Time runner. Um, he used to do a lot of blindfolded runs, right?
Mm-hmm.
He did like blindfolded child engines, and I think he did the blindfolded like any percent at some other event. But anyway, he played at GDQ blindfolded Ocarina of Time, and he did like the whole 100% twice blindfolded throughout the years.
Hmm.
So he was playing with Molotov, another Zelda runner, Ocarina of Time runner, and they were doing double blindfolded, where Molotov had the controller and he was blindfolded and he had no audio. So he had nothing. He just had the controller and he couldn't see or hear the game. And Runner Guy was blindfolded, but he could hear the game. And he was giving instructions to Molotov based on what he was hearing. And Molotov had to like control the game with only Runner Guy's input. And Runner Guy himself was blindfolded. So
Mm-hmm.
they beat the Deku tree in the casual room in like an hour and a half. And that was insane to watch. Like I really enjoyed watching them do the Deku tree that way. It was even made harder by the fact that it was in the casual room, so it was like really noisy and it was
Mm-hmm.
hard for them to understand each other. So that was really, really insane.
Did they record it
Definitely,
or anything?
I don't think it was recorded.
Ah,
It might have been
well.
filmed for a minute or two, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. I probably did film it on my phone. I might still have that possibly, but yeah, that was incredible. And I wish, like, I want to push Run a Guy to do that and record it with someone else because that was just crazy, and people need to see that.
I
Um,
that's the next Punch Out thing.
yeah, yeah, maybe,
I don't.
maybe it could actually be something that two runners practice and actually get it like GDQ ready. That would blow people's minds because it's so incredible. Like the
Mm-hmm.
people with the person with the controller literally cannot see nor hear the game,
Mm-hmm.
and your guide is blindfolded. Like what?
I don't know. I can't like comprehend that. That seems just too ridiculous to be possible. But apparently it happened. Word of mouth says it does at least. Really, no one recorded it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I probably did film it on my on my old phone, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure if I could retrieve it. But
Mm.
it might like if you know exactly what to search for, it might be on YouTube,
Hmm.
like is from someone else's phone. But yeah, I don't think anyone like no one I think really filmed it. Although I could be wrong. I guess I'd have to check.
Just a wild concept. Yeah. Sounds like you have like an interesting story from every GDQ, a GDQ, I should say. Said you didn't go to the S's.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like interesting stuff happened every year, except sometimes I'm not sure which year it was. um,
I can tell you 19 and 20. Those are the A's I went to.
mhm.
Anything
Yeah,
else?
those was it in no, that was in like AGDQ 2017, I think it was. I know my SMB1 PB was set in the casual room of AGDQ, but I
Hmm.
don't remember which one.
It was before my
17 or
time.
18 probably.
So one of those makes
Um,
sense.
the one other thing I really have a fond memory of for AGDQ is the battle royale station where
Mm-hmm.
like it's a ROM hack made by well on the ROM hack it says Dots are cool. Now he changed his name for ISO Freeze, but he's behind the Retro Game Mechanics Explained YouTube channel. He made a SMB All Stars ROM hack where you play the SMB3 battle mode but with four players. So Mario, Luigi, Carlo, and Paolo. And it's just a complete mess of like four players at once. Uh, it's utter chaos in that battle mode, and it's really fun when you're playing with like skilled players.
Mm-hmm.
And so I used to play a lot of it with Darbian and Lack Attack and the Mexican Runner and Blecky and a few others. And I was definitely like a solid tier below like Darbian and TMR and like Blecky. I like get trounced by them consistently, but I was just about able to keep track with like the game, and I was just able to like beat anyone else that would come like challenge the top like three or four players. So usually like I'd always come like third because I'd beat like one person and then get always beaten by Darbian and like TMR and Blecky.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so much fun and so exciting, and like we had so much like really crazy situations where everyone just bursts out laughing, and it was like a ton of fun playing that. And I just wish I had like a group of friends I could just fire that game up with and have like 2 hours of fun on the couch.
They also would just shit talk the entire time if they wanted.
Yeah.
It's always been a staple. Uh, there wasn't any at like any SGDQs. I know Derb kind of stopped going and it kind of died off if he wasn't there. I'll be honest. I don't remember it. I remember it at HGDQ 2020, and he was at that one.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I made sure to play as much of it as I could when it was there because that was good times.
Don't mess with the big bros.
Mm-hmm.
He would say that every time you tried as small. as a small bro to challenge a big bro. Don't mess with the big bros.
Mm-mm. They will fuck you up. Yeah, it's really cool how that works. I mean, you need the multi-tap. You got to get all the hardware for it.
Yeah, it was a pretty like it's the kind of thing that can only happen at AGDQ, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Or SGDQ, like at GDQ, basically.
Mm-hmm. Or just some sort of speedrun meetup. If
Yeah, maybe we could try to gather the hardware for doing it at pace. That would
mm,
be nice.
I don't know if I have enough room for my SNES, but I can bring controllers. I don't own a multi-tap,
Yeah, the
but
biggest thing is the multi-tap, basically.
yeah, I mean, I have EverDrives at least. I have the ROM. I can never play it, but I have it.
Yeah, I don't have any SNES stuff. I just have NES and N64, so I'm
Hmm.
like completely useless in that regard.
You know, Cosmic has to bring his because he got Mario Hour into pace, so
Mhm.
we
He has
got
to bring
that.
like his whole closet.
Yeah, that's the one thing that sucks about pace is it's bring your own shit. But I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's much smaller.
Hmm.
But yeah, I did not like lugging all my shit on the airport. And you'll always get someone that's like, "Oh, I remember this." It's like, yeah, I'm sure you do. God, airports. Anyway, sorry, I just have PTSD from airports now.
Yeah, I think I've only ever carried my N64 through an airport, and no one even saw it. So,
But I remember at GDQs, like I bring all my EverDrives, and they're in these like boxes to keep them protected, and they're always like, "What's this?" And I have to open it up, and it's just these weird looking devices, and it's just like, this is hard to explain. Just it's fine. I've never gotten in trouble for it.
hmm.
I mean, what could they be? But yeah, again, airports. I just PTSD. It's hard now since my problems last month. So hopefully everything goes well. I have to fly a lot this year, so hopefully every other time it goes well. Anyway,
Yeah, if I can make it by driving, that's definitely my first choice before flying.
hmm unfortunately, I don't live close enough to anything. I did, well, I didn't drive, someone else did, but I was driven to SGDQ 2018, the first one I went to. But that's 9 hours, so.
9 hours is just about what I consider the upper limit of um, drivable distance.
hmm
9 hours is exactly the time it takes. The time it took for me to go to AGDQ from 2014 to 2019. 2014, actually, I was using a really badly optimized route because I was dumb, and it took like 12. But
Mm, an optimized
um,
route.
yeah, I did some routing afterwards.
Mm.
Basically, I was trying to avoid like toll roads, and I ended up avoiding a toll bridge between Canada and the US. That's
Oh.
$3 and saved an hour and a half.
Hmm.
So once I found that out, turns out paying $3 was worth it.
Mm.
And so the next time it took 9 hours instead of 12.
Hmm.
Actually, it took 14 hours, but that's including like all the stops and such.
Mm-hmm.
And the weather was really bad. There was like freezing rain at some point. We almost skidded out of the road. It was a fun first experience.
Yeah, I need to just fly because like what 9 hour drive without stopping. But flying, I'm to Minneapolis for SGQ. I'm not even in the air for an hour. It's like 45 minutes.
Hmm.
It's like it's you're just there um right away. Like they never
Yeah,
like even stop the plane to like coast. You just go up and down.
I looked into flights for Pace, and nope, it's not gonna happen. It's like $600.
Mm.
None of them direct flights for some reason, even though it's like really close. But it's just Montreal Dulles just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And even like once you land, you're like half an hour from the event. You like need to
Yeah,
find a
it's
way
in
to get there.
between. Baltimore and DC.
Yeah, so it's definitely like it wasn't looking great. So I decided if I were to go, I would definitely drive because
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not gonna fly for 5 hours with like two layovers when I could just drive for 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, I have to fly because it's too far of a drive. But I mean, my flight to Minneapolis for GDQ was like 210 American dollars. So that was pretty good. I don't know how much it would be
Hmm.
to pace. But yeah, what sucks is getting there. Like, I think we have a thing set up to where people at the event have cars and they'll try to pick people up from the airport this time. But the person I was trying to get a ride from ended up being busy and they couldn't. So I tried Uber for the first time and I think it cost like $88. Never doing
Yeah,
that again.
yeah, an Uber or taxi for that kind of distance is
Mm-hmm.
definitely gonna be really rough.
Never doing that again. I will walk there if I have to. That is not worth it. Uh, anyway, but yeah, I'm excited. If all of that goes well, I'm excited. I need to not think of the potential bullshit that could come of the travel.
Hmm.
Focus on the positives. Um, hmm, what was it? 2019. I'm trying to think of the first GDQ that we would have met was 2019, right?
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
I
Because you
don't.
you
Yeah,
brought
like I said, they're sort of like blurs, so I don't remember exactly when I met
that's
you. But
here 2019's murder hallway.
right,
Okay.
I remember the murder hallway.
Okay. Usually that's all you need to say, and people are like, ah, AGDQ 2019. At
Yeah, I
least that's.
remember that.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing like renovations, and there was like a 4 4 foot wide hallway you
Mm-hmm.
had to go through. It was like really long.
Mm-hmm. And it
It was a
curved
fun
so
one.
you couldn't see it. So you're
Hmm.
just kind of like blindly going in. But luckily it led to somewhere cool, not death. Could have been either. But yeah, I liked that hotel a lot actually. It was very fancy, the rooms they had. Like the practice room was like just this giant room with mile high ceilings.
Right. Yeah, I remember this. It was sort of like a transitional hotel between uh, the one they were at for like 4 years
Mm-hmm.
and then the one in Florida, which I still don't know if they're gonna stay in Florida because all the insanity that's going on
Yeah,
with
I
the.
wouldn't, and they didn't. And that's why GDQ this year wasn't in person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they basically have to like turn around and find somewhere else to go. Like I think they're not gonna do it in Florida anymore
Well, yeah.
because of all the policies.
Yeah, but they had like a deal with the hotel, so they had to like
Yeah,
get out of it, and I'm sure that costed.
yeah, and that was the reason why they had to go through a transitional hotel in 2019 because the deals had to be dealt so much farther in advance that like they had to plan by like 2016 or 17 what they were gonna do. So
Mm-hmm.
they ended up just like running out of time. The event grew larger than they expected in that short span of time. So they like outgrew the hotels and they were like, well, we have to go bigger, but we can't do it until 2020, so we have to do something else in 2019. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how the murder hallway happened.
That's how Murder
Um,
Hallway happened. Okay.
I'm really eager to see where it's gonna be though, because if it's back in the a little more in the northeast, then it'll be back within driving distance. Like anywhere in Virginia or further up north is like perfect for me because I can drive there.
Mm-hmm.
Like Washington D.C. is sort of like the limit where like if it's further up north then I can drive. If it's down south then it's not really drivable.
Yeah. For me, I'm fucked no matter what, so I don't care where it is. I'd have to fly no matter what. I guess
Yeah,
whatever's like cheaper flights.
it's a large country.
It is.
For
It
me,
can't.
anything west of like Toronto in Canada is well, Toronto and like the the London and like up to like Detroit, like Windsor and whatnot, like
Mm-hmm.
the southern Ontario basically. Like I could get there, but anywhere like, the Manitoba or Saskatchewan, Alberta, or British Columbia, that's like 3 days drive. There's no way I'm making it. I'd have to fly there.
Hmm. Canada's funny. Like I know, like it's big, but it's only populated on like the southern part of it, so it's basically like one long strip of
Yeah, the St. Lawrence
population.
River is like something like 70 or 60 something percent people of Canada live within like 100 kilometers of the St. Lawrence River or the Great Lakes.
Hmm.
Um, that's like, 3/4 of Ontario and like 3/4 of Quebec, which both of which are the most populated provinces of the country. Live there. I live there
Hmm.
basically. So yeah, if you go like anywhere outside of that, it's like easily days of driving to reach anything else.
Hmm. Yep.
And like from end to end, it's probably something like 9 or 10 hours. Probably, yeah, probably at least 10 hours of driving. Um, but yeah, as soon as you go outside of that, it's like you can't do that in a single day.
Hmm. Um, Here, one thing I remember from HDQ 2019, that was the Bullet Bill ROM hack competition. I know
Right.
you were
Yeah, I was
involved
in
in that
that
a
one.
bit. Well, you were involved a bit because I don't remember if you won it. Did you win it?
I didn't win it. Cosmic
Okay, I know
was.
you were a finalist. I just
I
didn't
was in the
remember the
finals
outcome.
with Cosmic.
And unfortunately, I was the semifinalist where Cosmic beat me, and I got to be all sad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Cosmic was a force to was a force to be reckoned with.
mhm,
That's the expression, I think.
yes.
He was really incredible because I played Somewest in the that was round robin at the start,
Hmm.
and then like I think semifinals and finals, right?
Sure. I don't remember.
So in the round robin, I was with Somewest in my group, and I ended up somehow winning the group.
Mm,
Um, and then afterwards, I don't remember who I saw in the semifinals, but like basically of everyone I played, like everyone was, good Mario players. But then when I got to Cosmic in the finals, he was so much faster. He always threw me off by how much faster he was playing. Like I would, have sort of like timings I came up with for like when to fire bullets to try to get people when they're trying to climb the vine or like
mm-hmm.
be in a vulnerable position. And Cosmic would always beat me to it. He'd always like just clear the obstacles like half a second to a second before my bullet came in because he was just like clearing everything with so much more confidence. So that really threw me off, and I always missed him because of that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how he ended up winning that. He was really crazy fast.
That was in his
He,
prime, so.
yeah, I'd say like Cosmic is the like, in my opinion, the best overall Mario One player. Like when you see
Wow,
him
I see how
play
it is.
randomizers at like the brutal difficulties, and you see him play like these ROM hacks blind, you realize just how much skill he has at the game generally. That obviously it translates into the the any percent and warpless speedruns, but just like you put him in any scenario possible within SMB1, and he's probably gonna be the most skilled at dealing with it.
Probably. I'm trying to remember. I've only done the like brutal difficulty once, and like that's just unfair. I don't know if it's good. Like that's almost just essentially luck. Depends on the. Well, I mean, it
Yeah,
literally is. It's a randomizer, but like insane
yeah. Clearing a
difficulty
level at
is
brutal
like
difficulty is like
or brutal, yeah. Big.
40% skill and 60% luck, but you need to have that 40% skill, otherwise it's gonna be 0%
Mm-hmm.
regardless.
I will say though, um, we I don't like to remind myself of it because like the like Cosmic and I did a brutal randomizer thing for his YouTube, and I had a bad time with it. Like it was the first time I ever tried the. I mean, you might have edited that video as far as I know, but I had a like it was painful. I brutal difficulty's not for me. I've learned
Hmm.
that now. But it was the first time I tried it. I'm like, but here's the thing. That was the first time I've ever tried brutal difficulty, and for over half of the time I was winning.
Yeah,
So
I wasn't I
I can
actually
do it.
didn't edit that one because I think it was after I used to edit more of Cosmic's videos, but then I transitioned to only editing ROM Hack Wednesdays.
Mm,
So I think that was after that switch.
maybe, but I mean, I wasn't sure. Just would have been funny if that worked out. But yeah, like I had a bad time. I'll never do it again. I've learned. Brutal not for
Hmm.
me, but I mean, I went in blind and I made it to the last level first by like 20 minutes. I then just proceeded to not be able to beat the last level for an hour.
Yeah, yeah, the randomizers are pretty insane with difficulty.
Yeah, I love the rando, but it needs to be like hard max. Like anything beyond that is just ridiculously stupid and
But
not
I
worth
feel
the
like
time.
brutal is like exactly where it needs to be. It's brutal.
And the
It's
name doesn't
beatable, but
lie.
it's
I'm not saying
brutal.
it's lying. I'm just saying not for me, never again. Thank you. I'll stick to anything else.
Hmm.
But yeah, the rando's super cool though. Otherwise.
Not as cool as the Donkey Kong 64 randomizer, but
All right, talk about it. What makes it so great?
um, well, as you know, part of the development team,
Mm-hmm.
I say that as a meme because I am technically part of the dev team, but I contributed like 1% and like almost none of it is actual code.
So it
Um,
was all you, is what you're saying.
yeah,
Okay.
everything is my doing.
Mm-hmm.
The randomizer is really great. Like it's come to a point where um it's really becoming its own game. It's sort of like a maze. Like there are many different ways to play it, but right now the newest and currently most popular way is the item randomizer, where like sort of like in Zelda Ocarina of Time, where anything can be anything. So like instead of golden bananas, it can be a golden banana, it can be a medal, it can be a crown, a fairy, a blueprint, a move, a bean, a pearl, nothing, a Kong. So yeah, like all those things can be all those other things, and the game has some Wrinkly doors where like Wrinkly, the ghost of Wrinkly, comes out and tells you like a hint to get one golden banana for each Kong in each level. And we converted those into hints that tell you where stuff is, sort of like how you get hints from gossip stones in Zelda. And so it sort of became this maze where you have to find where stuff is, but you also get hints for it. And then as you progress, you get more moves that unlock more checks, and then you check more stuff and you get more moves. And once you get all the moves, you can, beat K. Rool, but you need to know like which moves you need because you won't necessarily need all of them. So it's really, really interesting. And, you can mix out a lot of stuff, like all the locations of stuff can be randomized. The level order can be randomized, the warps can be randomized. So, like, you can end up with a very different experience from the vanilla game. And I'm really, really happy with where it is right now. Um, I've been doing a lot of randomizer races with Zernicus, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's really great to have a DK randomizer. It's a prime game for that kind of uh, mix up.
Yeah, it's like the super collectathon, so plenty of
Yeah.
items to switch around completely.
Yeah, and I did the custom locations for bananas, and that was really fun because it's like sort of like reinventing the game, like coming up with all sorts of new locations where bananas could be. So it's sort of like being a child and imagining all like the possibilities with like putting more bananas into the game. So that was really fun to do. Really tedious, but really fun.
Just something I randomly remembered in DK64, wasn't there like some sort of banana that went undiscovered for years until like
It wasn't a banana, but you're
hmm,
right. There was something that was undiscovered for 17 years or 16 years, around that. I think it was found in 2016. Might have been 2015. Anyway, So it's a dirt patch. Dirt patches have rainbow coins inside that give 5 coins to every Kong, but
Mm.
they're not required for 101%. So they're just used for buying moves. Usually in the speedrun, you'll pick up like the fastest 304 to start with, and then you'll have enough coins for the rest of the game. So there weren't like exactly required, but we have a few like side categories and like the memer boards were sort of like the category extensions, like all collectibles or like all rainbow coins or like all like DK coins, all Diddy coins, all Lanky coins, etc. So like there were some categories where like the new rainbow coin was like, oh, we gotta like get rid of all the
Hmm.
runs we have and because they're no longer valid. But the reason it went undiscovered for so long is because the it was actually moved. Um, sorry, it wasn't moved. I My brain just went sideways. It was put somewhere that I think later on they added some tall grass that covers it completely, and then they forgot it like it was placed there, and they placed a new dirt patch elsewhere in the level. It's really rare. There's only one level with two dirt patches, and they're like in really different locations that you would typically never like. You would typically get one on your first visit and then get the second on your second visit and once you have Chunky. So it's really unusual for a level to have two dirt patches. So I'm pretty sure they first put the dirt patch there and then added tall grass that completely covered it, and then they forgot about it. They added another dirt patch somewhere else. And even the developers just forgot it existed.
Hmm.
And no one found it. Like we scoured the internet and no one found it. We got like once we posted about it, of course, like hundreds of people came out of the woodworks and said like, "Oh, I just checked my childhood file and it's gone. I already collected it."
Hmm.
But like literally nobody had ever talked about it in 17 years. So
Hmm.
we knew with a good amount of confidence that it had never been found.
So, like, you were part of a group that found it? That was like the speedrunning community discovery?
Well, I'd say my claim to fame was I think I was the first person to see the message Isotarge posted.
Hmm.
So, not really. Isotarge was the one who found it. He was going through all the actors. Is it actors or anyways, some other type of object in Fungi Forest. And he was just like warping to their coordinates to see what they were. And
Hmm.
he warped to that dirt patch. He was like, "What? Does anyone know about this dirt patch? I sure don't."
Hmm.
And so he posted that, and we were like, what?" So that's how it happened. Basically, it was like loaded in the objects in the level. So when he checked what it was, he found it, but otherwise, he wouldn't have seen it.
Hmm.
There are definitely ways to actually see it. It's just you have to like do something that's not really conventional. I think the easiest way to see it is like see up with Diddy might be able to see it, but anyway, you just like you have to know where it is because it's really hard to notice just your Kong like moving slightly upwards when walking over it. It's also in a section of the level where there's not really much of anything, so basically it's extremely easy to miss. So that's why it went unnoticed for 17 years.
Yeah, I can imagine. If it's like literally hidden, why would you check there? And I mean, the game's like an open world thing, so you're not gonna ground or
Yeah.
whatever you have to do
You're
every.
never gonna notice like that you have to shockwave a tiny bump in hidden in tall grass in the corner of the level that has nothing else.
Hmm. Nope. I haven't really played that game, so I'm trying to understand it with the slight knowledge I have. But I know that speedrun's cool because so I know almost next to nothing about the game, but I know like for fun or whatever. I forgot what day it was, but it was you and Cosmic were like teaching me the game. Well, not teaching me, but just like you know how easy it is to get out of bounds. Do this, and then it would like just happen. I'm like, oh, that was easy. That game's
Yeah.
so broken.
Yeah, the game is one of those games where almost no glitch is hard, but almost no glitch is easy to master. Like actually not easy to master, but almost no glitch is consistent. So everything is easy, but everything is inconsistent. So it makes
Mm-hmm.
it a super nice and fun game to learn and an extremely frustrating game to optimize.
Fair enough. Yeah, I know there's a lot of lag strategies and stuff.
Yeah, all those lag clips like depend a lot on like your exact position between two frames and like where the lag spike happens. So
Mm-hmm.
like you can get fairly consistent at it, but like almost no lag clip is more than like 80% consistent at most. Um Nowadays, sort of like thankfully and unfortunately, it's been most lag clips have been mostly replaced with phase walk instead.
Mm-hmm.
Which is nice because there's no more like lag shenanigans that's feel like RNG with how like inconsistent it is. Um, but the downside is that now it's a trick that's like frame perfect stick movement that sort of like destroys your controller. So
Mm.
that's not great.
No, that doesn't sound great. Frame perfect stick movement.
Yeah, so you have to be y- yeah, you need to get out of C up, so first person, in a certain angle range so that your angle goes like beyond 360 degrees and you can just walk through walls.
Hmm.
But you can't walk through walls because the instant you start walking, your angle gets corrected.
Mm-hmm.
But if your control stick has a change in magnitude that's more than like 20% or so per frame. So if you go like, first frame, you go down like that, and then second frame, you're neutral, and then third frame, you're up, and then fourth frame, you're neutral. You're like, on every frame, your stick is moving enough that your Kong sort of like changes animations, and so your angle doesn't get corrected. And
Mm-hmm.
then once you go in neutral, you press Z on the same frame to like slide and keep your speed. And so that's basically how the trick works. But it means like you have to, hold the stick like that, and then you press C up to go out of first person, and you go like the stick like that, and you just hope that you get like the stick to line up at the correct positions on every frame. I'm terrible at it, but top level like NLE and 101 runners can get like most phase walks within 3 tries most of the time.
That sounds way too complicated and difficult.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's just one of those tricks that you have to like hard commit to muscle memory and just keep doing it until you get consistent.
Sometimes to break games, you have to break your controller and maybe your hands.
hmm Steel bowls help a lot. This one is a greased bowl that I haven't seen any big sign of damage yet, but I haven't been using it for long, like only 2 or 3 randomizers.
Mhm. I've
It's a
been
controller I found in like a garbage bin, but
garbage bin.
look
Oh,
how good the stick is.
mmm.
Has almost no wiggle at all. It's like it feels pretty much perfect.
Damn.
So I when I found it, it was a
I
10 out of 10 controller. Now it's like a 9 out of 10. It's
mhm.
really good still.
um, I've been getting into Mario 64 a lot more recently, and uh, mine sucks.
The controller I
I
used
play
to
on a
have
standard one.
before I switched to this one, I had to grease it up first. But before I switched to it, the one I was using, I had trouble diving because Mario would just walk instead,
Mm-hmm.
and I had trouble doing the Bowser throws because the stick was not going far enough for the game to register it as being like spinning.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I tried to just play SM64 casually, and I was struggling to just like move around because of that.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm like officially at the point now that if I like, especially 16 star, if I want to take it more seriously, I have to like get a modified controller, get a Hori, get the Japanese cart, and all that. It's
hmm
like, uh oh. But yeah, like, uh, mine really moves around without moving around. And then like doing throws on this sucks too. But what was it? When I took it to Pace last year, I had some like professionals try it out, and they're like, "Yeah, this is okay." And I was like, "Yeah, I figured that would be the response." Like obviously, like mid, I guess would be the way to describe it.
hmm
Definitely not optimal. So I can only imagine it getting just worse than it already is.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to get a steel stick, but
Hmm.
it's a bit of a pipe dream.
Yeah, I'd have to look at what other people do. Uh, Rich, getting everything like perfectly the way you want is hard. Complicated mess. All the stuff you have to buy for everything. Like, oh, I have to modify my controller and now modify my console and now have it so I can play Japanese cards for this one game. But oh, ugh, my brain hurts just thinking about it all.
Yeah.
I'm just rambling with the amount of confusion it is.
Yeah, the getting like rare hardware is definitely not my favorite part of speedrunning. I
Mm-hmm.
typically don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I put quite a bit. I've invested quite a bit into the stuff I have. I mean, I have what, four consoles now that I bought. They're all either RGB modded or just had RGB output already. And then I bought the cables. I have EverDrives for everything. It's like, ugh, it's a lot, but
Hmm.
it makes it easier in the long run, I guess. Got to suffer for a little bit for it to be worth it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I do like my Nintendo 64 though. The I specifically got the like blue one matching controller. So hopefully if I can like find a stick that's better, I can just replace it with this controller because I like it, and then if I get a Hori, it can match the color. Because even my
Hmm.
EverDrive, the color matches, and I just it's aesthetically pleasing to me. All just
Yeah.
fits. Do you have the like Donkey Kong 64, Nintendo 64?
I do.
I
Uh,
figured you would.
I
Oh,
I might be able to show it.
room tour. There it
There we
is.
go.
Yep, with
Although
the
the controllers I've been using are the jungle green one is has been busted for a while, but
mm,
right now I have these two.
mm-hmm,
But this one is like really just completely wasted. But I'm
mm-hmm,
using it on my. I have it plugged into my computer, so I use it on emulators,
mm-hmm,
which thankfully have a much more manageable range. Like you can get it in a much better range with a broken stick
mm-hmm.
or like worn out stick rather.
Yep. So kind of talked about Donkey Kong 64, but something definitely needs to be brought up is I believe it was 2018, right? You kind of started YouTubing a little bit.
Yeah. Um, that happened because there were a lot of Mario records, SMB1 records being set in that, 2016, 2017. And they would get, posted to Facebook and some,
Mm-hmm.
random social media. And the response would always be the same, Back when I was little, you could never jump through those pipe snakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, people are so ignorant and they don't appreciate what the speedrun really is. So I think what I should do is I should make a video that has like the speedrun, but every time there's something that someone would be like, that makes no sense, that's cheating. I would stop there and explain what's going on so they understand why that happened and why that works and why it's impressive, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did. And like, it just, from the moment I had the idea to the moment I committed to doing it to the moment the video was out was like 2.5 weeks.
Mm.
I had just powered through it in a way that I could not do anymore. Like, I don't understand how I did it. I was working, but it was in the winter, so I was working only 3 days a week in the like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the days weren't that busy, so I was able to like work on the script while I was at work. I wrote the script in like in between um, times where I would get busy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I was able to just completely bust out a script in like 10 hours of writing 2 different days in one single weekend. And then when I got back home, I started recording. At first, it was on my headset, which was horrible quality. And then one Ted 59, shout outs to him, Big
Mm-hmm.
Ted,
Big Ted.
um, was like, you know, you should try recording on your phone instead if you don't have a good quality microphone. And that's what I did. And it sounded not great, but a lot
Mm-hmm.
better. That was all that was needed. And so I recorded. I remember I had to go up to my bedroom because that was like the room that had the least amount of background noise, and I didn't do any amount of like work on the audio, so it just sounds not great.
Mm-hmm.
But I recorded it like the whole script in like I don't know 5 sessions or something. And then after I recorded all of it, I was like, well, now I need to like, you know, start editing. So I looked up some video editing software. I ended up, I think I had from a humble bundle, I had Sony Vegas or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up using Sony Vegas for that one, and I just taught myself how to edit from that, like from that moment. I was like, how do you do this on Google? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I made the video in 2 weeks. It came out in early March, and then it immediately took off. I knew I was holding something. I knew it had the potential. My best, like, optimistic guess would be it had the potential to reach over 1 million views.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really hoping to get like signal boosted so it would like reach the algorithm and really like get out there. I really thought it had that potential, but never would I imagine it would have reached 8 million views like it did.
Yeah, it kind of popped off a little bit.
Yeah, it popped off like 8 times more than my wildest expectations. So that was great. And then I just kept, you know, working at my day job, which came became much more busy in the summertime. Um, and that's actually that summer is when I met my now girlfriend. Because she started working where I was working, and so we worked together that summer. And eventually, you know, I talked to her about how I made that video that had millions of views, and I was making like YouTube money. Although that took 2 months to happen, I'm still a little pissed about that, but not that much anymore. Um, when you reach like the threshold for YouTube to start like being partnered and get money, usually it takes like a few days for YouTube to review your channel, but it somehow they had a backlog and they took 2 months to get to it, in which time I had like over 3 million views. So the
Mm.
first 3.5 million views on my video never got any monetization from it. So that kind of sucked, but
Yeah, I can
I'm
imagine that'd
over it
be a
now.
pretty good paycheck right there.
Yeah, nowadays I'm over it. But yeah, that was bad. Anyway, so we talked a bit about that, and I was like, I think I want to make like more videos about it, and that's like when 455 happened. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I think I want to make like an update video. I want to, you know, talk about the limits of the category. And but I was like, my computer is getting pretty old, and it was kind of a pain to get it to render the video the first time because it was a desktop built in 2011.
Mm.
So it was kind of time for me to change it, but I wasn't quite ready to get a new computer yet. And so my girlfriend was like, well, at the time she wasn't, but
Mm-hmm.
she was just a friend. She was like, well, I'm gonna be busy with school a lot, and I'm not really gonna use my computer, but I just built it and it's like really good. So if you want, I can like lend it to you for a month and you can use it to make your video. I was like, well, that would be great actually. And that's what I did. I made it on her computer, which had Premiere. So
Mm-hmm.
because she was studying in like film and animation, primarily stop motion. So anyway, I was using Premiere now in her computer, and I made that second video, and that also popped off really hard. So I was like, well, I think I should pursue this more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I built my own computer, and that's when I started making like I was like I want to make more of these like speedrun breakdown video type of thing, but first I want to get out like all the really basic stuff about speedrunning and tasking. So I made a video about like the myths in speedrunning and the like understanding what tasking is.
Mm-hmm.
That was like sort of like the baseline I wanted to start on to like get everything else so I wouldn't need to like repeat all this really basic level stuff. And so then the next video was SM64 Task Explained, and that's I think when I really settled into what I do now. Like the amount of work I put into it, the amount of like the production value, the you know, the everything, the visuals, the explanations, like that's when I think I reached a good level of quality. And ever since then I've been, you know, slowly improving, but I'm still proud of what I love the work I did on the SM64 Task Explain video. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much proud of every single video I've made since then. The first two videos I made, in my opinion, are not that great anymore.
Mm.
They really didn't age really well.
Hey, I like the 455 video because it was the first video that I was in,
Hmm.
like ever. So I
I
have
really don't
respect
like
for
how
that.
I narrated that one. It was really slow, really low voice for some reason.
Mm.
Like I was speaking like this, and it sounds like so dead. No energy, no nothing. It's really bad. So that really, I can't like watch it anymore because it's too slow paced, and I just cringe listening to my voice
Mm.
trying to be really deep. So yeah, that was just not. I'm not happy with that one. And I thankfully I did away with the yellow text as well. But back in the days, so much yellow text and orange text.
Mm-hmm.
Just use white. It's not worth it.
But you should gotta be different.
I mean, it can be good like sometimes for like highlighting a word or like, you know, if you're dealing with like maybe time differences between two strats, you can have like one be red, one be green.
Mm-hmm.
But don't use like super saturated like 255, you know, full yellow or full like one color. That's just looks terrible. Never do it.
Mm. Oh well. Yeah, but yeah, you essentially built a career off of that now, right?
Yeah, I went full time in early 2019, which definitely was early to do that. I
Yeah, that
wouldn't
was
recommend
quick.
that, but I was it just happened. It just lined up for me. So that's why I did it. Basically, I've always been really good at saving. So I'm not a big spender. I just save most of the money I make, and I was in a situation where I could just go jobless for 2 years and not really worry about it. So uh, even more. So I didn't really have any pressure, like any financial pressure at that moment. And also, I had sort of come at a crossroads in my job where my brother was like the main supervisor. I was like the uh, what is it? Not assistant, but like the second supervisor, I would say. Um, I hate that I can't come up with the word. Anyway, the so my brother took like another job at like somewhere else in the same nonprofit company. And I was like, well, either I took more responsibility for a not much better pay, or I would have to work under someone that I knew would be incompetent, which would be insufferable.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I don't like either choice, and I do like the idea of trying YouTube full time, and I could do it like for 2 years without making a cent, and I could still like make it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like if I want to try it, like now is the actual perfect moment. So that's what I did. And that's how I ended up like going full time a bit earlier than what I would suggest, but it worked out. I had like my first year was definitely not very financially positive, but 2020 it started like picking up and I was able to, support myself and my girlfriend pretty well. And now it's actually looking like we could be looking at houses within like 2 or 3 years. So that's good.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then I know you also helped out with editing for like Cosmic. so that
Hmm.
helps a lot too, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a good like little side. I like that it provides a bit of change from my projects, and it's a nice little steady source.
Hmm.
It's nice not to be like 100% focusing on is YouTube having a lot of success? Because if my videos are not popping off, then I would be like, you know, my income would be wildly going up and down. But with Patreon and Cosmic and just now starting with sponsors,
Hmm.
um, it's sort of giving me this baseline where I don't really have to worry much about the success of a video. And like anything beyond like, 200,000 views is just a bonus afterwards.
Hmm. Which your videos usually get, I'd
Yeah,
say.
most of my videos get there eventually. It's nice that a lot of my content is just slow burner, so when it comes out, it rarely really pops off a lot. Like,
Hmm.
I'll get about 100,000 views within like 2 weeks to a month, which is great. I'm not
Hmm.
complaining. But the nice thing is that while a lot of people's videos sort of like die down after a while when they come up with new content and they just fall deep in the backlog of the channel and just never get recommended anymore.
Hmm.
A lot of my videos are just slow burning and they will get recommended to a small amount of people just always. So,
Hmm.
the Donkey Kong 64 tasks, the Zelda 1, the SM64 task, the 454 video on SMB1, and right now the A button challenge series, like the 5 hour supercut,
Hmm.
like all that stuff is still like getting a lot of trickle from like every single week and month, and it's just going up and up, so like very slowly. But when you add them all up, it's like 20,000 views a day without even publishing anything. So
Hmm.
that's really great. It's just come to a point where like my entire backlog is like rich enough that people can fall in it for 2 days.
Hmm. Yeah, it's cool that it's like that because that means like the more content you release, if all the videos stay that same way, you're just increasing that too on top of
Hmm.
what you're doing.
Yeah, every single release gives every single other video a tiny bump, but when you add them all up, it's a significant difference.
Hmm. Yeah, me releasing these and being so long, like you need 4,000 public watch hours to become partnered with YouTube. It's been moving more faster and faster
Yeah,
because.
longer form content is definitely the way to reach those 4,000 hours.
Hmm.
I I hit it fairly easily on my music channel just based on like having a lot of views on it.
Hmm.
But my speedruns channel is like typically very rare uploads and usually like short stuff, so I still haven't hit it.
Hmm. Well, I mean, not that I've been doing YouTube. I just upload all my speed runs, and now these here or there. But yeah, I've never even gotten close. So I think I'm at the closest I've ever been, and I barely passed 1,000. And you need 4,000. It's like,
Yeah,
ugh.
I think that's where my speedruns channel is at right now. 1,000 hours of watch time. Yep.
Hmm. So yeah, apparently speedrun channels don't do too well in the watch hours department. So you know what?
Um,
Great
I'm
idea.
down to
Start a
150 watch.
podcast.
I'm down to 150 to 850 watch hours. So some video I released a year ago is just falling off of the.
Yeah, there's that. I hate that you need to maintain it for like a year. I mean, I get it, but like it sucks because I think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure at one point, maybe in like 2019 or something, back like before I even had like 500 subs, I was like at 3,000, and maybe it was like a couple of Warpless World Records or something. Even though any Warpless World Record I've uploaded didn't get that many views, like my highest view video has 14K, which I mean is okay, but like
Mhm.
speedruns usually do a lot better than that. Anyway, so like and then it just fell off completely by the time I actually reached the 1,000. And now I've never been close, but these videos sure are helping, at least.
Yeah, well, I wish you success with this podcast for sure.
I hope so. It's definitely fun. The same thing. It was kind of the same thing for me. I talked about. I just had the idea to do this just randomly at night, and then I acted on it, and here we are.
Yeah, the acting on a random idea can be a really good thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did in 2018,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked out.
Yep. That's what I hear. Like, oh, random idea, better do it. Yeah. I like because a lot of these I usually have people that do pursue speedrunning in a more content creation way too. Like I have both sides, people that are like diehard speedrunners and then like this, and it's like I find it interesting like how the whole YouTube thing works. Like, and like how hard it is to master. Or well, some people find it really easy. It all depends, but I just find the whole thing very interesting.
Yeah, to really have success on YouTube, I think you have to play a game of, you have to sell the product just as much as make a good product.
Mm-hmm.
And the selling part is not my strong suit, and it's not what I enjoy doing a lot, but it's just something you're gonna have to do if you want to get out there.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, I mostly my aim is to just make content that is good enough that people will see the thumbnail and just like people will see it's made by me and that is just a seal of quality and well people will watch and enjoy because they know it's going to be good
Mm-hmm.
rather than try to hook people with big premises or insane like titles and thumbnails and such. And I think I've been able to do this for the most part, but I compare my, numbers, the CPM, it's the CTR, the click through rate, the percentage of people that click on your video when they see it somewhere on on their page on their feed.
Mm-hmm.
And my numbers are just like abysmal compared to a lot of people. And it's just like, well, the reason my videos are doing well are because the watch time is great. People watch it for a long time. Usually my retention is like well above average for videos of the same length. But the whole like title and thumbnail part I'm terrible at and people just don't click on it. So yeah, it's just part of the game and I try to not really like dive too much into it and stay true to myself, stay true to my style.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope that in itself it becomes a seal of quality, I guess.
I mean, so far it's worked out. I I feel. I mean, I watch every video personally, so. But I mean,
Mm.
I'm like the target audience, so I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, I sort of strive to get to a point where like the entire speedrunning community comes to a stop to watch my new uploads, sort of like how Summoning Salt
Mhm.
works.
Yeah.
I'd say it's definitely a thing for a lot of people, and it's definitely a thing in like, small communities. Like I think the SM64 task community kind of especially during the A button challenge series, we're definitely in that mode where like, oh, new Bismuth upload,
Mm-hmm.
drop everything, we gotta watch it now. Um, but yeah, I think overall, like I'm well known in the speedrunning community, but not like I'd say a household name where like everyone remembers who I am just by name, like Summoning Salt is,
Mm-hmm.
or Call Jobs, I guess is probably card jobs and virtual are probably like the closest to being that as well.
Yeah.
And I'm just at the level where like everyone has seen at least one of my videos, but they're not at the point where I like, oh, Bismuth, that guy, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel similarly on a much lower scale. I've always felt that way in like in speedrunning. I'm fairly well known as a speedrunner. And I
Hmm.
mean, you don't get that all the time. So I mean, that's cool, but like outside of that, like who the fuck is this who is this guy? It's about you don't know me and my 175 world records all documented. Link below.
I've yet to actually meet someone that knows me without knowing it's me. I've heard
Mm,
stories from my siblings and my cousin who are like, "Oh, I talked about your videos to this friend of mine," and they were like, "Oh yeah, I watched him,"
mm-hmm,
but and they were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, he's my cousin," but I've been told these stories, but I've never actually experienced it firsthand. Where like I meet someone and subject comes along and they're like, "What? I know you."
mm-hmm.
So
All
yeah,
right.
that is something I really wish happens eventually. That would be really cool.
All right. I have a kind of a story for you that might help with this then. So I had a friend growing up. He lived like two doors down. His family still lives there, but I don't know where he's at now. Kind of lost touch after college started, but we used to play like SMB3 on Wii VC on my Wii here in the basement. So I have a lot of good memories of that. But so I had his phone number, but I hadn't talked to him in like 4 years or something. And I randomly get a text message in like 2019, 2018, something like that. I forget. I could probably find it. Maybe I should find it. You know what? No, this is important to the story, so I'm going to like take the time because I doubt I got rid of it. Why? What happened to all my all the numbers? Okay. I really hope I didn't delete it. I'd be mad. Or maybe it gets auto deleted. No, please. This is so important. I think it's gone. Really? Why are iPhones like this? I think it deleted all my messages. Okay, well I guess I gotta remember it now. Unless one of these is it. No. Damn. That sucks. Anyway. Alright, I'll try to remember my best. I really wanted to get the original text message. Anyway. So that guy randomly texted me and he said, "I was watching this video. This was your username, right? Is this you?" It was the 455.
Right.
So I know someone that saw it on their own. And yes, that was me. I was like, "Yep, that's me. That's me." So that's the only time I've been recognized by, I guess. And then that doesn't really count because it was someone I knew, and that's the only reason they messaged me about it. But so I know someone that watched your video. Just
Yeah,
so you know.
I've heard a lot of stories like this where someone tells me, "Oh, I talked about you," and then they already knew your stuff, but it still has yet to happen to me directly. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, one
One
day
day.
it'll happen.
Yeah, it's not something I long for personally, but I do find it funny, like the stories I hear of like more popular people when it happens. My favorite's always Summoning Salt. I know he's told me about it. Like he streams on a private Twitch, so I watch him fairly frequently. But he was telling a story of like he'll wear like his merch in public, and people would be like, "Oh hey, nice shirt," but they don't know it's actually him. And
Right.
I find that so funny. Like you could have known.
I
Like
feel like the instant he says thanks, they would know though, because his voice is so
no, he said that no
recognizable.
one's recognized him from his voice ever.
That's crazy.
That's what I said. Like like really? You have like such a, especially now, like such a known about voice. He's like, "Nope, never, it's never happened." Well, maybe that's changed. This might have been like a couple years ago, but yeah,
I'd
it's
be really shocked if someone
I think
recognized me from my voice alone,
yeah.
because
Well, you have a
I think I
unique
sound
one,
really different.
I think.
I just think I sound really different in my videos compared to in real life. And also, I don't typically, speak in English that much. So
Yeah, well, that's fair.
I would
I
be
think it'd be
speaking
harder for you
French
to
for
get
most people.
recognized where you live. Yes, but um I think you sound fairly, I think you like try harder to speak in more clearer English in videos, but that's
Oh
the
yeah,
point.
definitely.
So yeah, obviously there's a difference there.
The like you can hear my French Canadian accent a lot more when I'm talking like this, but
Mhm.
And when I'm recording videos, I'd say on average, I need like 4 takes per sentence.
Mm-hmm.
On average, usually it's gonna be like 2 or 3, sometimes one, but sometimes it's gonna be like 7, 8, 12, 20.
Mm.
The highest is probably like 30 or so. It gets really annoying when you're like, I just need to nail this. And sometimes I change the wording because I just can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely a struggle that most people don't have to go through. When it's not your first language and you want to have like clear commentary,
Mm-hmm.
you just have to go through that extra step of rehearsing everything and recording sentence by sentence and just, getting everything perfect. Because if I was just to read my script, it would, sound like I'm talking down. It would just not be clear, and I would be like mumbling, and I would be like stumbling over my words, and I would be, just not on point, and
Mm-hmm.
people would like, destroy me in the comments. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I just have to go through that extra step to get that commentary to that level of quality that I want.
Mhm. I mean, you do put in a ton of audio effort. I mean, I know how your process is. You made the video about your entire like video editing and audio editing process. It's quite
Hmm.
complicated to me. Like
It's
there's
really
definitely
not
a lot
that
of
bad
work.
once you get used to it. Because like I just made a bunch of oh my god, my nose just cleared up. That's amazing.
I'm
Uh,
healing you with my podcast. You're welcome.
I just made a bunch of hotkeys, and it's like once I record a sentence, I select it, Control T, Control One, Enter, Control Two, Enter, Control Three.
Oh, you have it all
Uh,
set up. Where okay.
yeah, and then I select all the peaks that go beyond -2 decibels, and then Control 3, -2, Enter, Control 4, type the numbers, and so it's like not a lot of mouse and a lot of just like keyboard, da 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 da. So it takes like 30 seconds or so per sentence. So
Well,
it takes like, anywhere between 15 seconds and 3 minutes to record one sentence, but usually around 30 seconds, and then it's another 30 seconds to get all the stuff done to it right,
mm-hmm,
and I just move on. And I like that it gives me a tiny little break because my voice gets tired really easily. See, I've been talking for 2 hours and I can definitely hear how the quality of my voice is lowered a lot.
mm-hmm,
Um, but I can do 2 hours recording sessions because I keep taking these breaks in between each take.
mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
that's also nice.
it's actually something you provided in your videos. You showed the difference between like a fresh recording and if you've been doing it a while. And it was
Oh
like a
yeah,
significant
that one
difference.
time, that one time I tried to record I tried to record like 20 minutes of the voiceover in a single session. It took me 6 hours, and by the end of it, I sounded like garbage, and I had to re-record almost all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything past like the first probably 7 or 8 minutes, like past 2 hours, I re-recorded because it sounded terrible.
Fair enough.
So I never done that again. I always limit myself to 2 hours.
Mhm. I guess it sounds complicated, like in the video, because you explain like first I do this setting and then I do this setting, and I didn't think like you have it down to a science where it's like button 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 button, button to do all that.
Yeah, and like recently, Audacity just became slower, and there's like a tiny little added like processing time in one step of the process. It always trips me up because now I press like I press the button to check what the audio level is before the previous thing is done, and now the audio levels are wrong. And it's like I don't know how that happened, but that like extra quarter of a second just threw off my entire workflow.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like down to like, you know, pinpoint precision, like doing these keystrokes really quickly to just like apply everything. So it really doesn't take that much time.
You've optimized the route.
Yeah, the longest is just like going through individual peaks that go too loud and adjusting those. That's like the longest part.
Mm.
And also adjusting all the if there's any like saliva noise when I'm especially there are a few like consonant sounds that are really prone to having this little extra uh, blip in the sound. So I gotta fix those, and that can take a little longer because you gotta like find where it is and
Mm-hmm.
remove it. But yeah, overall, it's like not that much work, but it's definitely something that I recommend if like anyone wants to do that kind of like commentary video where like your voice is important. It makes a huge difference to take these extra steps to do like the equalizing and the finding like the right balance of the equalizer curve to get your voice to sound richer, and then get rid of all the background noise and saliva noise. It just gives everything a much better feel. Makes your
Mm-hmm.
video more engaging to follow. Nowadays, I struggle. Like if I click on a YouTube video and the voice just doesn't sound great, like the quality is terrible, or the pacing is bad, or like the pronunciation is not clear, like all that stuff can turn me off from a video.
Mm. I don't think I usually care about the audio sound unless it's like I don't know recorded on a I don't know my old headset mic. If you heard my
Mhm.
well this headset mic actually, this sucks because this is a really good headset, but the microphone is so bad. Um, I think like a good example, my 1857 Warpless run had this mic, and it is dog shit.
Yeah, I think I remember from your streams from like 2 or 3 years ago.
Mhm. So then I bought this like I for the first time I bought a real microphone and
Mhm.
pop filter on it. And I think it sounds a lot better now. But I
Yeah, I
mean,
bought mine in 2019 and it's made a huge difference as well.
mhm. But like super back in the day, like before this headset, when I had like a wired headset with that mic, I always thought that sounded pretty fine. Like it wasn't good, but and it's not like I'm making videos or anything, but like that form of audio doesn't really annoy me. It's the other one where like S's are 30 times as loud as anything else. Then it gets like, okay, goddamn.
Yeah, that's when you have to apply an equalizer curve to like lower the trebles and get the bass a little higher, and then like just balance everything out so that your voice sounds fuller and richer, and you don't have these really like high pitched sounds that really pierce the ears.
Hmm. Yeah, those are the yes sounds. Ugh, God, just thinking about it makes me cringe. An old mic, or well, I say old, it's literally this one. I could show everyone right now how bad this thing is. I guess it's because it's wireless. But I mean, like, the audio quality is fantastic. So, I don't know. I don't know why it's so bad. Anyway, yeah, the whole. I've been trying to think about the whole video thing because, like, I like streaming, but I know, like, streaming on Twitch, you're not going to get anywhere with that in today's day and age. Like, if you want to do something cool, you have to, like, make content. And I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of, like, video editing or. I hate script writing and I hate like doing audio adjusting. So I don't know if it's for me. I've tried.
Yeah, if you feel like it's not for you, then I don't think you should force it because it
Yeah.
requires a lot of work, and if you're not into it, it's not gonna be fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the editing can be fun. Like the video editing, the getting everything to look the way you want. Like that's
Mhm.
satisfying. And
Yeah.
that's fun. But script writing specifically, it feels like writing an essay for school. And I didn't like writing essays for school.
Yeah, I enjoy the writing, and I definitely enjoy the editing. But the for me, it's definitely the recording that is the least enjoyable part for me because
Yeah,
it's harder than the average English speaker,
fair.
and it's just I don't really like my voice that much. I think it sounds fine when it's like fresh, but
Hmm.
like right now, how it sounds right now, I don't really like it. It sounds like a little raspy, and I don't know how to describe
Well,
it.
don't you have a cold? Just blame it on that.
Right. But
Hmm.
it's like I sound right now I sound exactly like I would after 2 hours of talking like we did.
Mm, no.
And so that's and like my voice just doesn't project at all. Like I can't speak loud. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can't just like
Me too.
declare something to a crowd.
Me
It's just
too.
not gonna come out.
Yeah, I get it.
So basically, I don't really enjoy doing the voiceover and doing the audio editing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just a step I have to go through. And sometimes, um, yeah, sometimes it's just hard to. I have this setup now where I like put something behind me and a blanket over my head that just like covers this whole dome, and that helps a lot with the reverb because like the room around me is kind of not very
Mm.
it's kind of empty, so the sound bounces off the walls a lot.
Yeah.
I tried putting these things, but they don't really do anything because I didn't have enough of them,
Mm.
and so it doesn't make a difference with the tiny amount of it there is. So basically, this blanket makes a huge difference, but it's a big setup, and then I'm like cramped here underneath, and my I can't move my chair, and so it's sort
Mm-hmm.
of like this annoying setup that I have to do before I start. So that's getting to like actually start that can be a big step that I can procrastinate a lot. That's
Yeah.
always a really, really difficult thing for me to start doing it. It's like the hardest part for me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in a pretty open basement area, so I don't know if it travels the same. Maybe like upstairs, but that's away. I don't really get any background noise, I don't think. But yeah, I imagine if I like tried to make like all the videos I've ever made like didn't have voicing. It was more like for the purpose of showcasing something like almost like data graphics. Like, you know,
Hmm.
I started where I put all the world records and they all finish on the same frame. And I like those videos. I don't like putting 30 runs and editing them all so they match up. That was a pain in the ass and had like 6 or 80 timelines on Premiere or whatever they're called. Like Jesus, but
Yeah,
I
the channels,
the yeah the
the video channels.
well, and then they have the audio on the bottom, and you just gotta make it all
Right.
line up, and then you have to adjust the audio for each thing so one isn't like blasting over and you
Hmm.
can't hear the other.
Usually, I don't do a lot of sorry, I my brain just fell off my head. Um, Usually, I don't have a lot of audio uh, channels, but
Mhm.
video channels can get up to like 130
Well, yeah, you
sometimes.
do a lot of like particular editing stuff, so yeah. Um, well, yeah, mine would get closer to 100 because you like each video has its own thing. And then yeah, it's like the 30 audio tracks and balancing that. The worst part is when you're trying to play back when you have all the footage, it like crashes your laptop because it's playing 30 things at once. I don't think I'm going to make these videos anymore just because the process is so stupid. And
And then when you render it, it's like doing one frame a minute, and it takes like 6 hours to get a video that's like 10 minutes long.
actually it would render within like an hour.
Okay, not too
I
bad.
don't think it
Well, as soon as it, sorry, as soon as it's slower than one frame per frame, the
Mhm.
playback's just gonna be choppy.
Yeah. Like obviously it's going to render a lot longer than it takes for the video to play, but like the output has always been like a nice clean 60 FPS on everything that was 60 FPS and it looks good.
Yeah, it's actually surprising. Like
Hmm.
on average for my videos, the time it takes to render is about the same as the length of the video. So usually a little longer. So like a 30-minute video will take somewhere between 30 and 45.
Hmm.
Because like there's a balance between like parts that are like just a playback of the run and stuff that's just like, a background and a few images that's like really not intense. And then there's like these bits of like three videos and like After Effects composition and stuff that's like really taking a lot of time. But
Hmm.
then like all of that balances out for it to be roughly 1 to 1. But it's just like sections are a lot quicker and then some bits are a lot slower.
Hmm.
And so the problem is when you try to edit those bits, like if you really want to see how it looks, you have to like render the whole thing, which takes 2 minutes. But then you make one little change, and the whole thing goes to waste, and you have to re-render in another 2 minutes, and that can be really tedious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I always found it so cool with the things I made with all the videos at once is like I try to play it in the preview window and it like crashes my computer. You can't even see the frames. It'll freeze. It'll either freeze or
Mhm.
just straight up crash because it's so many videos at once. But once you like export it and does all that thing, and then you have the like MP4 file, it plays perfectly.
Yeah.
Like I get the process, but I just find it so cool. There's like I could upload this, and yeah, like the video file once it's all good and done, it looks the quality I wanted it that it
Mhm.
earlier couldn't process, and that's just cool. But yeah, I don't think I'll be making any more of those videos because so I made the whole second channel. I uploaded the first video, the Mario 1 and 8% one. Immediately within like 12 hours I got a Twitter DM from Kotaku, or an editor for Kotaku, and he wrote an article. Not a very great one, as you remember. You made the tweet about it, like showing how bad it was.
Yeah, yeah, I remember.
Which, like, I get. I just kind of felt bad because I was like, oh, I got an article and I said some nice things, but everyone just cared about how bad Kotaku is at research. Which I mean, fair enough, but like,
Yeah, and
damn.
it's not just Kotaku, honestly. It's
Mm-hmm.
like any, I was gonna say almost all game journalism, but it's honestly all journalism.
Yeah.
It's just they don't have time to delve into the topic enough to be accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just gonna like, you know, do their best with like 30 minutes of looking at it to try to get a story out of it, and they're just going to get all the details wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy when you read an article about something that you actually know, like you have a lot of deep knowledge about, and you find out like they got everything wrong. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything is not accurate. And then you think of all the other articles about other stuff that you read, and you don't really question because you're learning the subject from the article. Like they got all the details wrong on that one as well, but you just couldn't tell because you didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty crazy to think about, like just how much of an article is just straight up wrong or inaccurate.
Mm-hmm. Now, in Kotaku's defense, specifically for my situation, apparently later, because I looked back at it like a few months ago, they edited it.
Yeah, yeah, they did.
They fixed all the incorrect
Hmm.
information. I was like, oh, they didn't have to do that, but they did. And you know what? Credit where credit's due.
Yeah,
So I'm glad they did that at least. But yeah, so because of that article, that video pretty popped off pretty well. It almost hit 10K, and that was my first video upload ever. So I mean, that's on that channel. So that's like wow. And then I tried it twice more, and they both flopped hard. So I'm done with that.
yeah. It's a fickle thing for sure.
hmm it's just weird that you do it and it actually does well, and you're like, oh shit, I have something here. No, you don't. Never mind. False alarm.
Yeah, you just got lucky.
Yeah, just got lucky, punk. No, well. I want to figure out something though because I like data visualizations, especially in speedrunning, and I want to figure out something I could do with that because like if I had to talk, it's fine. I don't like audio. Like I think my mic sounds okay. Like I probably wouldn't have to do much, but it'd be nice to find something that's like simple. Like I don't mind editing, especially if it's like a visualization, like the videos I was making. Like the end result made the effort worth it. Like I didn't hate it or anything. So I'd like to find something like that, but like long form scripted content. I know it's the way, but I don't think that is for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for everyone, and you don't find out if it's for you until you try it. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really expect it to be for me, but I think I really realized, like, I realized after the fact just how well it suited me. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just you don't know until you try it.
It's true, and I definitely did try, and that's how I learned. But yeah, like I wrote a script. Like I actually finished it. I don't think it's good. I think it's dog shit looking back, but I wrote it 2 years ago, and now it just sits on my computer. I don't plan to ever like release it. I told Cosmic if he ever wants to make the video on the subject I wrote about, I could send him what I said. He could probably make because it fits his style now. Like now, if I made that video idea I had, now it would be like a Cosmic ripoff,
Hmm.
or that's what it would be
Yeah,
branded
just like
as
on
because
the
it just
Summoning
happens to
Stock
be the same
ripoff.
thing. And I don't find that to be fair. Like your guys' content is so different. Oh, it
Yeah, I
says
find
it's
it
speed
ridiculous.
running. Oh God, what a ripoff!
Yeah.
Like no, there's a difference between the history and an explanation of how it works. Those are it's vastly different subjects. I guess to someone that cares more, maybe a casual person wouldn't really understand. But
And it's funny because there's a bunch of other people who have made, world record history videos.
hmm
And I wonder if they get as much like, oh, that's just a Summoning Star ripoff. They probably do, I
I feel
guess. They
like they
just don't.
have to. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's more. Obviously, it's not a rip off. He doesn't like own the format, and he's said that. But
Mhm.
like, I mean, that's more of a rip off by a lot than you to him in comparison.
But yeah, I still get it. I don't get it as much nowadays, but I still get it from time to time. The classic, oh, he's like that, like knockoff Summoning Salt type, trying to copy his content.
It's
Yeah,
like
I still get it.
clearly you haven't watched the video.
Yeah,
They just see
like
speed running in the title and like, ooh.
I find it incredible that someone could watch my entire video and come out of it thinking that is a Summoning Salt copy. Yep.
Well, they don't. The people that are commenting that did not watch the video for
Yeah,
even a
most
second.
likely. Hmm. Most likely, yeah.
That's just how it is. And it's wild because speedrunning content, especially now, is like so popular. Like everyone's doing it. So what? That means everyone's a ripoff of him. Everyone's a ripoff of each other.
Yeah.
No, there are like literal ripoffs, like well, not ripoffs, but like the same kind of like speedrun streamers that make content based on what they stream. Like that's like the now norm. Like kind of what Cosmic did, like on a speedrun channel. And now he obviously makes more scripted things, but like everyone was doing that, and it
Hmm.
works. But I mean, there you're kind of like ripping off each other. It's like the same kind of thing. Just you're doing it with your own stream, I guess, and the own stuff you would do on it. So it's like, yeah, that's how YouTube works. Like there are other things you could compare that would be a lot more better comparison than what you're saying. Some people I just don't understand how they link two things together and say, "Oh, this is the same." No.
Yeah, and initially my first inspiration was not Summoning Salt. It was Pan and Coic when I made my
Mm.
first video.
Panon.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been hanging out with like the ABC people a lot the past couple of years because
Hmm.
I knew Ted and Scazzy from because we're all even you we're all mods in Cosmic's channel. So because I'm friends with them and they're both like heavy on the ABC stuff. Now I like talk to everyone there. So like I talk to Panon like once a week now. And it's weird. Like I found out about him and all his work before he was or after his like hiatus.
Right.
So like the first time I started interacting with him, I didn't get it what the big deal was. I was never there for like the meme era of it all.
Hmm.
So it's weird like knowing just how big of a deal it was back then. Like there was like this collage someone posted of random shit like I forget what it was called, but like it was like just random internet I don't know. I'm blanking on the word I want to use. Like not as well known stuff. Like like if you know you know type thing almost.
Obscure.
Obscure, yeah, like somewhat obscure. Yeah, I guess that's the word I'd use. But yeah, like his video was in there in this collage and it's like, really? It was that big, huh? because like there were a bunch of other things in there that were like super famous, and I could be like, I almost like I knew what a lot of it was immediately. And his
Mhm.
video was just in that collage. It's like, oh, was that big a deal? And
Yeah,
I
I
mean, I
find it
see it meme to
crazy when
death
I look
in like shit posts all the time too. So I guess that
yeah,
helps.
I find it crazy when I look back because like it feels like it has been meme to death and everyone knows about it. But it actually doesn't have that many views. It's like 3 million, I think.
I thought it had like 6. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Maybe
It
4.
has, or it has 4.6.
4 points. I said the two numbers correctly, just not in the right order.
But like I look back at that, I'm like, I can't believe like I have two videos with more views than that.
Hmm.
And they just like I feel like I just don't understand how they can have that many views. It just breaks my brain.
Yeah, I mean, well, when you
Like
make
even my
good content.
SM64 tasks video is close to that. It's like 3.4 million views. So it's like about three quarters of the views that the Rolling Rocks videos got. And like that one is just like an internet legend. And I
Mhm.
feel like my most viewed videos, like, yeah, a lot of people heard about them, but they're nowhere near as famous as that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they're more popular, but not more famous.
Yeah, they were more watched,
Well,
but not
I
remembered.
think part of that is, well, first of all, you explain everything so well that, someone's like, what the fuck is this going in? And then come out like, oh. But I feel like his video is so complex and bullshit that it's like,
That you
what
come
are
out of
you
it thinking, what the fuck?
saying, man? Like,
Yeah.
that video was not made for a general audience. It just got picked up by it. And
Hmm.
so it was like, what the fuck is this? And so yeah, that's why it's a meme to death, because it's like so ridiculous to like the casual person. Well, until you explained everything that's going on, I guess. So you ruined the meme.
Yep.
Now everyone perfectly understands everything going on. But oh, I sorry. This reminded me, I was recommended a video. I don't know if you've seen it. It was called Bismuth's I think Mario
Explains
6.
the Mario 64 task, but
Okay.
like
Only
what
the
the
parts that make sense, or
right, and it's like 30
it's
seconds of me
30
saying like
seconds of like
Mario
Mario
jumps.
64 was a game for the Nintendo 64. Mario,
Yeah.
here, Mario, you push A to jump. uh,
It's funny because I first saw it when my brother sent it to me, and he was like, "Oh, you're getting so famous. Memes are being made about you." And I was like, "Oh, that's funny." And then I saw it like somewhere else, and I was recommended, I think, on YouTube, and
mhm.
I commented like I didn't understand shit, and that just popped off, of course.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, anyway, that I think with something so like ridiculous that the general audience doesn't make sense, I think it like stays in their brain as like something dumb, and that's why that video is like an internet legend
Hmm.
compared to like something you made where like you come out of it with an understanding. It like makes sense at least a little bit to a casual person. But
Yeah.
like the intent of Panon's videos weren't to, it was like not to educate, it was to explain. Like it was made for ABC people, and
Hmm.
just the algorithm's like, oh, here you go. But I don't know if it's because of you like making your whole ABC series, but now Panon's getting back into it. He made his pendulum
Um,
video, and he's making shorts like almost daily.
the pendulum video, I know he worked on it for a really long time and went through a few iterations of it and had to like redo parts of it, and
Hmm.
it was a really long haul project that I wasn't sure if he would complete. I think he worked on it at least a year.
Hmm. Well,
Probably on and off, of course.
the pendulum crash in the game was like synced up with what New Year last year,
Yeah, something like
so
that.
like he wouldn't have even started editing yet. I don't,
Hmm.
right? So.
Yeah, I remember like because I was like when that happened, I was like, oh, I was considering like making a somewhat short video about it, like
Hmm.
5 to 15 minutes. And I talked to him about it, and he was like, "Oh, actually, I'm thinking of like doing a real proper commentated video about this exact subject. Like I'm working on it right now. So he's like, oh, fine, I'll leave it to you then.
Hmm.
So that was like, when it happened. So yeah, it took a bit over a year to finish. But yeah, I actually didn't find out until like a week or two ago that he had been doing shorts.
Hmm.
That's great. I mean, I don't think it's really the ABC series that brought him back.
Probably
Uh,
not, but I mean, just
but
funny coincidence, I guess.
yeah, I think it was probably a motivation. It was probably a good motivation, but I know, as far as I know, he hasn't watched the videos because he doesn't enjoy, he doesn't like seeing or hearing people talk about him. Like it
Mm,
feels too weird for him to be talked about. So
got it.
he didn't really read the scripts and he didn't really watch the videos. He read some parts of the script and I sent him some stuff that I needed him to confirm or help. But like as a general rule, he didn't do the script review like other people were helping with that. He helped me with a lot of other stuff, but just not directly on the video, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah. I just thought it'd be funny if like he inspired you and then you kind of inspired him back into it. But I mean, I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I would guess it was probably sort of like a factor into it, but I wouldn't say I
Yeah.
drove him back to activity.
Yeah. I'm not claiming that. It's just it'd be funny if that's part of how it worked out. But
He did message me a few times over the years, like after watching a video of mine, like asking how I did X and Y. So
mhm.
I think he does draw inspiration from me in some way, so that's great.
Mhm. Yeah. Nothing better than like content creators building each other up, I guess.
Hmm.
It all makes sense. But what I found it interesting is like I know he made that ABC Trials thing. I found out about that because Ted loaded that ROM hack on my EverDrive at GDQ in 2020. But anyway, like he released the pendulum video and I was like, yeah, he makes great videos. What's the last video he made? It was the Watch for Rolling Rocks 7 years ago. And I was like, really? First of all, it was that long ago. And second of all, he hasn't made anything since then, like in that style.
Hmm.
Wow. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was talking about how recording is my least favorite part. Well, that's like times 10 for him because
Well, yeah.
he does it differently and in a way that it's sort of like a big monolith, and if something changes, he has to like re-record like huge chunks of the video.
Hmm.
So he just has a different workflow that doesn't allow for changes much.
He also
Um,
has like I won't call him an audio editor, but I know he had he got one of his friends that I also know to do the audio for him.
mhm.
So, but
But
yeah,
yeah,
I
anyway,
know he has
the
like a better
recording
mic
part is
now
like,
too.
yeah, the recording part is like the main thing that drove him away from recording, from making these type of videos.
Hmm. Yeah, the thing that is like I've thought about it obviously because everyone's doing it. And it's like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. But yeah, it's just like audio recording and script writing like is not fun. Like,
Hmm.
and it's unfortunate. So I'll hopefully think of something. Like I like stuff like this. Like I don't have to edit anything here. Like
Just
I
like
literally
it.
just yeah, I rip it and upload. Like it's easy. Like I enjoy this. It's fun. I enjoy talking to people and I don't have to do work. This is it's great. But and then it really helps my watch hours, but yeah. Like these videos don't I mean they get actually a fair amount of views, a lot more than I thought they would for me, and it really helps the watch hours. So, I'll take it. Easy to make content right here. Other than like making sure I'm available every Sunday and I get someone who is also available.
Mhm.
But, you know, I do what I can. I haven't missed a week yet since my creation of the idea in my brain. So,
Last week.
what?
You you haven't missed a week since the creation last week.
Did I say that?
No, I was just adding it
Oh,
as a joke.
I see. As a joke. Um, no, yeah, it'd be weird if I came up with it last week, but was also already doing it for 8 weeks. Some
On
time
your
shenanigans.
on your eighth episode now,
You're my 10th.
10th episode.
Technically,
Wow.
you're my 11th, but my first episode was like an introduction, and I was interviewing myself. So I called that episode 0.
I can't believe you found 10 people more interesting than me.
More interesting.
Yeah, because you start with the most interesting, then you go down the list to the very bottom, and then that's where you found me.
I don't think so. Well, if we're gonna follow this logic, I haven't had summoning salt on yet.
Oh, that's good then.
Okay, so no, that's obvious. That's not at all how I do it. Don't cancel me. It's not at all how I do it. I honestly, I just have like a list of 80 speedrunners I know, or some even I've just heard of. Saving the best for last. I don't know when the last is. Anyway, I just have a list, and I basically pick the people I like know the best. English is hard, actually. You know what?
Hmm.
See, like even for English speakers, it sucks. So don't feel bad. Anyway, um, anyway, I have a list, and I look through it, and I'm like, who are the people I know the best, that I've like talked to the most, and I usually invite them on, especially at the very beginning, because like I'm not gonna go to someone I've talked to maybe twice and be like, hey, you want to do this? And like, who are you again? So so far, like everyone I've had on, I like know pretty well. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I've been doing it to start. Just whoever is available that I know. So
Hmm.
I don't like pick and choose favorites or anything. Don't cancel me. Um, but yeah, I have you on before Salt, so you can say what you want about that.
Nice. I'll spin it for my best interest.
Perfect. Whatever floats your boat. Um, yeah. Have we talked about video editing down to death now? Anything else
Um,
interesting?
I think I think I did the full turn around the question.
Hmm.
That's not. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, I think we've
Exhausted the
covered the
topic.
topic. Yeah,
Yep, yep,
we've
yep.
covered the topic.
But I will say because of it, I meant to bring it up earlier because you said something that reminded me of it, and I think you brought it up slightly. But you had that talk about speedrunning because of your videos, and at that,
Hmm.
you could explain that a little bit.
Yeah, that was crazy. It was in January last year. Um, I got a DM, Twitter DM. Usually those are kind of shady for the
Mm-hmm.
most part. And hold on, I'm gonna find it.
I get plenty of like DMs like, "Hey, you want a job?" or "Hey, you want to chat?" It's like, no, I don't.
Right.
Enjoy getting blocked.
So right. So he says, I'm from Munich-based nerd group in
Nerd
quotation
group.
marks called TNG Technology Consulting. We stumbled upon your videos about Speedrun Explained. Very interesting. And then we host a nerdy in-house tech conference called Big Tech Day every year in Munich. Typically, more than 1,500 people, virtual and face-to-face, attend this conference. And then, yeah, so basically, we're very interesting in topics that are a bit nerdy, but also required a lot of analytical skills and thinking outside the box. And that's where your speedruns came into play. We contact you because we want to know whether you can give a presentation on topics such as how to do such speedruns or something comparable. And have you ever given a presentation on this topic or like a presentation?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be interested in doing something like this? And then uh, so I was like, that's pretty crazy because I
Yeah.
first thing I replied is, "Hello, this is an interesting request. I've never done presentations like that before." Um, but yeah, and then I talked about a few topics, and then when he replied, I did ask him like, you like you are aware that I'm based in Montreal, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
have the hardware to do this presentation. I could like, because he talked about attending like virtual and in person. So I figured that was going to be a virtual presentation.
Mm-hmm.
But then, um, right. So that's when, like in his reply, that's when he told me that they would be providing, all the travel expenses and uh, like the hotel and whatnot. I was like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you guys are flying me to Munich to give a talk. That is incredible. I straight up fell off my chair when I saw that.
Mm.
And so I just jumped on it. It was an incredible opportunity, and it was quite nerve wracking at first, but I rehearsed it a bunch. Were you part of the group that helped me?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I did rehearse it with you. I did like three rehearsals with like three-ish people, three friends that would give some feedback afterwards, and so you were part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So yeah, it was really fun. I didn't expect to do this well. I think I ended up, I wouldn't say I crushed it, but I think I ended up doing really well for someone who had never done this before. And it actually gave me this sense that this was something I never thought I could ever be good at, but I think I could actually get good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I sort of put this on a back burner, but I've got this idea and I typed up a really detailed outline of a talk that would be given in high schools around my area, where I would be talking to teenagers who would like to become influencers.
Mm.
Um, because that is huge right now
Oh yeah.
in teenagers and like from like 8 year olds to like 18. A lot of people are like idolizing YouTubers or TikTokers or whatnot,
Wasn't there like a
and they,
national thing where like teenagers would rank like the job they most wanted? Number one was always YouTuber.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
that's
incredible.
just true. That is the most popular job in people of that age group.
Yeah, and it's probably the same results in Canada and Quebec as well. So
Yeah.
I think it has a lot of potential. I talked to some of my former teachers, and they said it was a good idea, and they gave me some pointers to who to talk to in my the high school I went to. I haven't quite followed up on that yet. I just sort of put it on the back burner, but yeah, that's something I would like to pursue. Start giving conferences in schools about the job that is being a YouTuber or being an influencer in general,
Hmm.
like what kind of work is involved and what kind of things you need to do that you need to think about or you need to do that you wouldn't expect. So it's like more management than you would expect. And some parts of it are definitely not fun to look into. Like, the dealing with the dealing with taxes is definitely more complicated when you work on your own than when you just get a paycheck and everything is taken off of it automatically and you get like a couple $100 of return
Don't
on your
worry, I
tax
know.
every,
Um,
every year.
uh, because all I had to show for in 2022 was DoorDash and Twitch. Uh,
Mm,
so a lot of taxes for not any money. My refund, all I got was like a refund from the state, and it was like $20
mhm.
rolling in it right here.
So yeah, if you work on your own, like you gotta think about all the expenses related to it and all the. At least for me, there's not much, but
Hmm.
it gets more complex with every passing year, and with like income coming from like five different sources, and so that gets pretty complicated. And I registered with taxes recently because I gotta charge taxes now, but I actually don't because most of my revenue doesn't come from within the country. So anyway, it's like
Hmm.
you have to read up on a lot of like laws and some a lot of stuff is not well documented because it's about, YouTube and online. platforms are just not really documented well in law documents, like because it's too recent. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have like proper documentation for you to read.
And the people that could
So
change it are all boomers who wouldn't understand it anyway, so you almost don't want them to say anything about it.
yeah, and like you call and ask, and they're like, "Oh, well, I actually don't know because this is like a new thing." So
Mm-hmm.
then you get like they refer you to other people who are like, "Oh yeah, I think this qualifies as that." So then you maybe you don't have to, but you have to register, but you don't have to pay the taxes because so like it's all that stuff that you have to deal with that just really expect that you would when you think about it you're just like, oh, I'm gonna film my face and publish it to the world and people will love me, but then your day-to-day is like, oh, today I spent like 3 hours with the IRS trying to figure out how that works. And so yeah, it's stuff like that. And also like you know I wouldn't say I'm a great example of like how much work you need to put in because I put in a lot more work than the average,
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
Oh yeah.
But even if you don't, the thing with content creation is that if you don't want to do everything yourself, like if you want to do everything yourself, you have to be good at everything. And if you don't want to do everything yourself, then you have to deal with other people and then you have to, set up a team and you hire people. And that becomes a lot more complicated when you're dealing with like you hire people to do work and there's contracts, there's you gotta pay them right, and if there's like misunderstandings or problems, like everything can go south really quickly. And I feel like there's so many examples of YouTubers that ended up like falling off
Plus ratio. Sorry.
because what? I didn't hear what you said.
I said plus ratio to falling
Plus,
off.
oh right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I
you fell
I
off.
I,
You
I
fell
was
off plus
I
ratio,
was being
right?
a terrible meme lord. I'm sorry. I'll
Yeah, yeah.
shut up
No.
forever.
But yeah, there's so many examples of like YouTubers that just ended up, you know, crashing down for some reason or another. Like they had problems with people on their editing team, or like, and they just and everything just crashes once like your team of people doesn't work out. So if you do everything yourself, then you're setting up to spend hundreds of hours per video. So it's just like no matter how you approach it, like there's a lot of hurdles and it's a lot more complicated than it seems. Even if it's just like, someone talking to a camera, there's usually still a lot of editing involved and and it takes so much like charisma and it takes so much more than just having an idea and talking.
Hmm.
So people often don't realize that, and I think the basically the what I came up with is just like a lot of like here's all these things that you didn't think about when you were like, oh, I want to become a YouTuber. And then if you still want to do it, then great, but just be aware that it's not like the dream job where you travel the world and vlog, and there's a lot of stuff around it. A lot of people often talk about like Instagram influencers or like go to this cute little cafe where they get like this the latte with the nice uh design on it, and they
Hmm.
just take like four selfies with it and they don't even drink it and they just throw it away and keep going. Or like they go to this really beautiful place that's like picturesque. They take a 30 minute session of selfies and or like photo shoot with their boyfriend and then they just leave without actually enjoying the place. It's like to get to the level where they are, that's what they have to do. They have to treat it as a job because if they don't, they're not going to get ahead of everyone else that does. And they're just going to fall in the endless pool of people. And it's just kind of sad when you look at it that way. But that's kind of how it is.
Hmm.
So, yeah, like every job that you think is a dream job has its aspect that doesn't make it that great. And I'm not going to complain at all about like what I do because it is honestly a dream job in a way. Like I am combining like being sort of like a teacher and video games and speedrunning, and it's like all sorts of topics that I am really passionate about, and I'm like working on stuff like literal. I often joke with my girlfriend like she opens the door to my office and I'm just like playing Mario and I'm like, I'm working, I swear. It doesn't look like it. I'm working.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still like hundreds upon hundreds of hours to make one video. And it is a lot of work, even if it is fun work. It's not just like, oh, I'm just having fun with games and I publish it and I make millions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, basically that's I would like to give that conference to teenagers around like in the high schools around my area. Um, but right now the project is on the back burner. But I have like a really well-defined outline about like a 30 to 45 minute presentation on that topic.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I would have loved if someone came to my school and talked about video games and not talk about how drugs are bad and all the other shit I already know.
I
Like,
feel
shut
like
up
I
about
would
it.
like have
Bullying's
this nice
wrong. No
role.
shit. Sorry.
I feel like I would have this nice role of being like the cool person that gets to like, take over the class and talk about cool shit for an hour. So I think like a lot of people will be interested just by virtue of me being the exception and like being the fun thing in the class today.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know like teenagers are brutal, so it's a little scary to go like talk in front of a classroom of like 15 uninterested 30, 15-year olds. I was thinking of 15 as their age.
Mm.
30, 15-year olds that are like completely uninterested. So hopefully like me being the cool like YouTuber influencer coming in to talk about that job that they want to do would probably like make my job a lot easier in terms of like reaching them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a topic that they'd actually care about, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, that's what I would hope for. But yeah, I still haven't like actually made the step of like, I want to give a talk like in this school, like, can I do this?
Mm-hmm.
But I did talk to my former teachers, and I think the idea will be well received.
That's nice. Yeah. Again, I wish I'd had something like that. I would have cared a lot more, but well, maybe not the influencer part, more of like the gaming part and not doing it
Mm.
as like a job, but just someone that is actually talking about something interesting for once. I definitely would have at least found it interesting.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna frame it around like general influencer, but of course, like talking about my experience as a speedrunning YouTuber, but
Hmm.
trying to give insight that applies for other types like Instagram or TikTok or whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know how any of those work. Those are apps I have never used and never will.
I also have a friend that was a pro player in Valorant for a couple
Mm-hmm.
years. Now he's retired. Well, he was sort of forced into retirement, and he's a coach now. But yeah, he also could give me a little bit of insight on how the pro gamer part works because I have some insight on it, but obviously I've never done it myself. So
Mm-hmm.
that's also one that's like really idolized, but in reality is fucking hard.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with like whole organizations trying to do esports and how if you're gonna do an org, you're gonna lose money no
Mhm.
matter what you try to do. And so that turns a lot of companies off from doing it unless you're like an influencer where you know the risk and are doing stuff where you already make like millions, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, like that that like every like really big organization recently has been going under. Like that is a complicated can of worms, that whole esports thing. So when people like, I wish speedrunning would be an esport, like, yeah, me too, but then I also think about how what esports actually is, and it's like, well, maybe it shouldn't. maybe it's fine where it is. I don't know. Like it'd be cool if I don't know speedrunning was in the Olympics. I know the Olympics are like, oh, let's have these sick games like mobile game and chess. Chess should not be labeled a video game. You should just have chess in the Olympics normally, personally. But I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just all weird.
the line is blurry between games that are like, because yeah, there's like a spectrum of games that are like purely mental and then purely like physical, and like what qualifies as a sport is just, subjective.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, like competitive video games are somewhere between definitely more physical than chess. I'd say probably about as physical as like, something like pool or snooker,
Mm,
where like it's more about the precision than the straight athleticism,
mm-hmm.
you know. But it still like requires a physical aspect that requires like, mastery and expertise.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the kind that gets you like completely exhausted like, hockey or football or soccer or whatever. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mentally exhausted, maybe.
yeah, like it's I feel like it's something like 80% mental and 20% physical, but it still has like the this aspect. Like chess is like, 99% mental, 100%.
Yeah.
But maybe if you're doing like bullet chess, that you get
Mm-hmm.
like 1% physical.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
I might have to go soon though. We've been talking for 3 hours, and I have something else planned soon.
Oh, okay. I know how much time you got.
I'd say 5, 10 minutes. We can.
All right, we could rapid fire some easy questions then.
Yeah.
We could do the lightning round, and then if people want to ask questions quickly, they can. All right. What can I think of? All right. Speedruns you like to watch but don't play.
Um. Well, SMB one, I would say is one. Although I don't really watch it much anymore. Um.
Same, honestly.
SM64, I did play it a bit, but I don't really play it much. I like to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
OT is one. Um. Honestly, nowadays I just don't watch a lot of speedrunning anymore. It's just weird.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always have it on the TV. Not while I'm doing this. I'm not rude, but yeah. Actually, West has his website about part of his website. He has like a multi-stream thing, like the
Mhm.
best multi-stream ever made, IMO. But yeah, I'll always have it on my TV and have like 9 speedrun streams at once. Like I don't like watch it the whole time, but I look over and see how all the runs are going. So I still care a lot, and yeah, just random whatever's on. Like I
Yeah,
don't really watch SB1 anymore either. I'm kind of sick of it,
I tend to
honestly.
be stingy a bit on my following list, so I tend to like not really follow new people a lot. So my following list just kind of aged.
Mm,
A lot of people don't stream anymore, and some just moved on to other stuff, and yeah, I guess I'm just not on Twitch much anymore. That's just how it is.
mm, be like that sometimes. But yeah, I mean, you still plan to at least go to live events and stuff. It sounds like you want to try to go to Pace.
Yeah, I want to try to go to Pace. AGDQ, I was considering just not going anymore when it was in Florida.
Mm,
But if it moves back further north and I can drive to it, then most likely I'm gonna go. And I want to try to go to at least one SGDQ at some point, even though I know I have to fly there.
mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Um,
I think live events, I'm definitely not getting as much of a kick out of it as I used to.
I mean, for me, every time, well, last year was a bad example because it was coming off of COVID and all the masks and stuff. But every time I've gone, it's like gotten better and better to me. I don't know if I'll like ride the peak and then drop off, but It's weird. This year, HDQ is at a different hotel than it's been for the past like 5 years.
Hmm.
So I don't know what that'll be like. I'm so used to the other venue, even though I was only there twice. Hmm. But yeah, HDQ's fun. I mean, it's just HDQ. Like, there's no difference between the two, I don't think.
Yeah,
So,
I guess like the attendees are a bit different group, but
I mean, I try to go to both, so I think it's the same. Well, I don't know. There hasn't been an HDQ since 2020, so I don't have much of a
a
data set
reference.
to go. Yeah, data set to go off of. But from what I've noticed, um, I don't know. Anything we didn't talk about?
I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, DK64, YouTube,
I tried to be
conference.
thorough. I do my
Yeah,
research beforehand.
I think we went through it.
I get the
I think that's a
topics
good
out.
spotlight.
Yeah. Um, One thing I meant to bring up, but you went on the tangent about talking at schools is, I know like I watched your test runs of like your presentation you were gonna give, but I did watch the real thing when you uploaded it to YouTube, and I liked at the end when you were getting questions. Someone asked about Minecraft, and you said, "Actually, I had the world record." I was like, "Hell yeah!"
I forgot that I brought up that I had
because
the record.
because you don't like Minecraft is so. I know we talked about it, but Minecraft is so fucking popular now. So it's just funny to
Hmm.
think that again, it was all you. Remember that.
Yep, all me. I
Minecraft
started it by myself.
by yourself, completely on your own. And all right, so I guess I don't see any questions. I'm out of things to ask. We covered everything. You need to leave, so I think we're good.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a fun talk. I always like to just chat about speedrunning. I usually accept when I someone requests me to do that.
Yeah.
So
Well, I like listening to other people talk about speedrunning, so I have a great job here.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. If you're watching here live, I'll be uploading the VOD later, and then if you're watching on YouTube, you can watch these live on my Twitch. Follow, please. Anyway, here's my self promotion for the day. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.